Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cinerama 60 and our Summer Visions movie marathon. And this week I have a special thing. We're doing a double feature. And this week we will be talking about Vanishing Point and Two Lane Blacktop, two 1971 movies. They're both pretty much. Actually, I think both of them were. They're probably both. I was going to say cult movies, but they're both actually kind of. They actually did pretty well in the theater, I do believe, when they came out. And I apologize. And joined as always as the co-host, Mike from Mike's Blu-rays and DVDs. Sorry, Mike, I got into that intro a little bit too far and forgot to mention
Oh
your
no,
name.
you have to explain it a little bit.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, how's it going? Yeah, these are.
So
I just realized they're both from 1971, so it's kind of cool.
yeah. For some reason, I always feel like Vanishing Point is from later on in the
Yeah,
70s.
yeah. I was thinking it was like 73 or four, but
Yeah,
it's 71.
yeah. And it's kind of interesting. Both of these movies came out the same year because it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But Vanishing Point are both for your car enthusiasts out there. They, I guess, they were well-rounded movies in both regards, but they were both really definitely fall into the car chase genres more than
hmm
less. Now, I do think Two Lane Blacktop is definitely a more avant-garde movie than Vanishing Point. They're both pretty good. Their interpretation is both pretty. They're both very interesting movies, but I do compare Two Lane Blacktop to a Easy Rider. I feel like it's the car version of Easy Rider in some respect, and not
hmm
exactly, but they're in cars going across country instead of
yeah,
motorcycles. You know.
yeah. There's a little bit of deep meaning, a little bit with the comparison, the GTO that Warren Oates drives to the 55 Chevy that the two guys drive. Um, their Chevy stands for like independence, and they built it and they take
Yeah.
care of it and run it. And then the GTO is just like a factory made muscle car, that there's 1,000 just like it, but theirs is like one of a kind. So there's like I
Yeah.
don't know, there's like an independent feeling versus, a popular feeling or something. I don't know how quite to say that, but every time I see it,
Yeah.
I pick up a little bit more on it. It's kind of cool though. But yeah, I think Vanishing Point's a little more straightforward, than
Yeah.
that one. But
Yeah. It has the Vanishing Point has some pretty good cinematography in it, which kind
mm,
of that makes it kind of pulls it back towards more of a independent genre, a little bit more independent. But they're both studio movies, though. They were both studio movies,
hmm
and both of them were kind of those classic examples of after they shot they were basically given the money to shoot the movie, and then well, Vanishing Point maybe not so much, but Two Lane Blacktop were definitely. I guess we can try to concentrate on Two Lane Blacktop instead of kind of weaving in between. But Two Lane Blacktop was basically when it was they shot the movie and they basically previewed it for the executives. I guess for who released this? Was it
oh,
Universal?
Universal.
Universal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically like what do they didn't they were like, what do we do with this movie? And I think it was originally slated to be released in I forget 500 or 600 screens or something. I
Mm-hmm.
believe it's what they were talking about in the documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and end up getting basically like an independent release on it, and it became a big hit anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably got made, it probably got greenlit for having, you know, uh, the Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson and James Taylor in it, which were, they were where James Taylor was just, kind of bursting on the scene and stuff because he was still really young.
Yeah.
I think he had had a hit by that time, I believe, and so I think with that appeal, it was like, yeah, this will be a good movie.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, Monty Hellman
Uh,
had a good reputation for staying on budget and under budget and everything. So and working on the
yeah.
cheap, you know.
Yeah, I actually believe the script had been floating around Hollywood for a couple years, or
Hmm.
and but when Monty Hellman got it, he basically took it to a writer to, I guess to have some things rewritten, and the writers like basically threw out the whole script and rewrote it. So it's nothing like the original was originally. Excuse me for double negative. Originally
Hmm.
intended to be. So
Yeah.
it's but I think it was he wanted to make it for like 1.4 million, and I think it was kind of the original budget, and then they to get it made they had to basically slash the budget, and he ended up making it. They give him like 985,000 to make it, and he made it
Hmm.
for 850, I believe, or maybe they gave him 850, and he did it for 750. He basically did it for about $100,000 cheaper
Hmm.
than they. So going back to what Mike was saying about him coming in under budget and things like that with his movies,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they like that kind of stuff.
Well, Monty Hellman came from the Roger Corman school of filmmaking.
Yeah,
He started on, I forget what he started on, but he was friends with Jack Nicholson, who was working with Corman, and um,
yeah,
a bunch of people that started with Roger Corman. So Roger Corman's the master of the on budget or under budget, and get as much as you can for nothing, and stuff like that. So he had experience with that because the other previous two movies he did, the Whirlwind, what was it, uh was it Wind in the World, was it Whirlwind, and
yes, Whirlwind, and
uh
I'll pull it here in a minute.
ah,
It's
I have
shoot
the
something. Yeah, it's a double.
oh
It's a
yeah,
double
the
feature.
shooting. Yeah,
The sh-
shooting. Yeah, after he did
yeah,
those two, they were like, and they did pretty good and stuff. So he had a
yeah,
pretty good reputation
yeah.
and everything. And of course, you had Jack Nicholson, was favoring
He did some
stuff.
other big budget stuff before that, didn't he? Didn't he get to do some westerns, or was he was
Ah,
involved with some westerns? I'm pretty sure his name's on something. I apologize. I didn't get into that much of the. I
well,
didn't get
I
into
forgot to
that
even,
research for this.
yeah,
So
I forgot to even look that up. But yeah, I think
yeah.
he did a few things because there's a little gap there in time. I'll look up his filmology here and
Okay.
see what we got going on. Yeah, he just died recently. He died in April. Oh, April of last year. He died.
Monty
Monty
Hellman.
Hellman.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, well, no, Ride in the Whirlwind in '66, and then '66 he also did the shooting, and then it says there's nothing until '71 with Two Lane Blacktop, and then in
Okay.
'74 he did Cockfighter with
Okay.
Warren Oates. So I
Yeah,
mean, he
that
may have done
one's.
something.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm mistaken then. I didn't know he had. I guess Monty. I guess Ride the Whirlwind. That's where guess where I'm getting his name from, because I knew he
Yeah.
did those movies, but I couldn't remember. It's pretty wild though. They let him. Now here's an interesting fact. That he after the success of Two Lane Blacktop, he was offered the offered Junior Bonner to direct Junior Bonner,
Hmm.
and he ultimately turned it down. And he didn't really. He said he didn't think he could take the script and rework it to for his liking. And
Hmm.
he said in retrospect he should have took the film because he had essentially had a Two Lane Blacktop rewritten to where he wanted it, and so he was like, yeah, I should have just took it. But he said he was happy about how Peckinpah, what he did with it, and how he was able to kind of
Yeah.
reshape the movie and make it a
Mhm.
really good movie. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. That's true. I'm trying to think of Universal. Was that released through Universal? So I can't remember. But yeah, I don't know. Peckinpah. I wonder if Steve McQueen was attached to the project at that time yet or not, because I think he did that, for Sam Peckinpah because they had a pretty good, relationship, friendship,
well,
and
yeah,
stuff. So I think, you know, so
yeah.
that's
I'm
interesting.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all about that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a pretty. I mean, Two Lane Blacktop is such a good movie. I mean, I kind of looked up some stuff on the car. Um, it had sold a couple years ago at auction, and it sold it wasn't very much when it sold. It was like 200,000 and something,
Hmm.
compared to like the Mustang from Bullet that Steve McQueen would set a record. It was like over 3 million and something for it.
Yeah.
So but I was telling my dad, it's like I would rather have that 55 than that Mustang if I had to choose between the two. But
Oh, between the
yeah, but
judge and
between the
the
two,
yeah.
oh no, between the Ford the Ford Mustang from Bullet.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was talking about the auction, like the
Yeah,
comparison
yeah,
of
yeah.
the
Oh,
two,
yeah.
like
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I'd much rather have it. I, I'm not a big Mustang fan because they're like Corvettes. They're a dime a dozen. Like
Mhm.
everybody has them, and everybody has the 65s and the 69s,
Mhm.
and like you see them everywhere. I've seen some really sharp ones. A friend of ours has a 65, and it's a 65 fastback, and it's a good looking,
Mhm.
really clean car.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, then there's
yeah.
nothing. I'm not denigrating them. They're great cars. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
I'm just not a big fan. I'm a Chrysler guy myself. I'm more of the car. I'd like to have the Vanishing Point car. That's what I'd like to have. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
55 Chevys. The 55 is my favorite body style of that era.
Mhm.
55 and 56 are similar. The 57 changed a bit, the rear fins,
Yeah,
because they sharpened the rear fins on them
yeah,
instead of having a rounded rear fin in the back. And
yeah.
they're still fairly similar to the rest. But
Mhm.
the 55 was called the business coupe, I believe. I believe it's called the business coupe, is what that car was. And the business coupes were stripped down. They had like the Bel Air versions of them. The Bel Air was like the top end, which came with all the chrome package, and it had all the chrome and all the probably the nice interior. And the business coupes were made to be the cheap end models.
Mhm.
Exactly what they say. They were built for like the businessman, the guy driving every day, and he
Yeah.
don't want any thrills or frills. It didn't have any. It didn't have the big exaggerated bump. The big chrome bumpers. It's just a stripped down car. So
Mhm.
they made good race cars.
Yeah, and
And
then if you compare the two cars, you got
yeah,
theirs is like stripped down to the primer. There's no frills. They don't even back
yeah,
seat. And then you
yeah,
got Warren Oates' car, which is straight off the assembly line, and it has everything. It even has the racing paint job, and it has and everything. And I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if you can compare the people to their cars. Warren Oates is trying to be. I don't know if he's trying to stay young. He's trying to compete with these younger guys, and he's dealing with a lot of stuff. His character is really interesting because you wonder who he is exactly because he's like a compulsive liar, and he's just kind of a BS artist, and you wonder like you know a little bit more about character, like who he is
yeah,
and where did he come from, and
yeah.
because it seems like he doesn't really know where he's going, in life. He's just all over the place.
Yeah, no, I actually like that. I like the GTOs myself, but
Hmm.
um, if you think back, that car is the same car that the guy has in. It's the same color and everything, same year, same color, 70 GTO, and
Oh yeah.
it's the same car in Dazed and Confused, the same
Oh yeah,
exact color as he
yeah,
has.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
a
You're right.
popular.
I didn't think about that until just now. Yeah, that's true.
What's cool about them? You don't really see it in the movie, but if those cars, they were called the Judge. Like they have a Judge badge down on the quarter panel,
Mm,
front quarter panel on each side, and they say the Judge. And it was just something they called them back in the day. But they usually came with like a
yeah,
400 cubic inch. I don't know what he said that car came. He says what it has in it, but those cars usually Pontiac's was motor of choice was like 400 cubic inch in that era, and it was a
yeah.
pretty badass motor, you know.
Yeah, he was saying something like I remember when he was talking to the girl about it or something. He was saying it was like 400 and like
But
53 horse or something, and the
it
other
it
guys
might
have a
be
four. Yeah, they have a 454 in theirs. So it's kind of like I don't know if he's trying to, say like it's like the whole time he's trying to keep up with these guys. He's trying to measure up, to these guys in every way, or something. I don't know. It's just it's
it's a
interesting. But yeah, he said something about. I think he might have just said the horsepower. I'm not
it
really sure
might
that.
be a might have been a 427 car. It might have been the bigger. I had to look and see what I can't
Yeah.
remember if Pontiac had the 427 or it's all General Motors. A lot of people don't know that Pontiac was General Motors and Pontiac, Chevrolet, General Motors, GM. That's all General Motors. They make all of it. Cadillac. It's all General Motors. So
Yeah,
so
usually
I
they were. I think they were in like the 400 range. I think. Well, here it is. I looked it up. 445.
is it a
Say here.
445 cubic inch?
Yeah,
Because Pontiac, always, they have some weird cubic inch numbers I never can remember.
yeah, yeah. 5.4 liter, and then there was a Tempest GTO that came with a 6.4 liter V8. Let's see here.
Hmm.
It's not
But
pointed out.
while for anybody who hasn't seen Two Lane Blacktop, I'll do it. Mike can join in too, but do a little synopsis if you've never seen the movie. The movie stars James Taylor, Dennis Wilson. James Taylor's the driver, and that's how they're listed in the credits too. I don't think they ever call each other by any names throughout the movie, but
Mm,
they're listed as a driver, and Dennis Wilson is the mechanic, and Warren Oates is GTO. He drives the GTO. That's his character name in there. I don't know if anybody except maybe Laurie Bird's character ever gives a name. But does she even give a name?
I think she's just the girl. I
Yeah,
think she may
yeah.
just be the girl because I don't
And
remember them really. Well, no, they did call her by name at one point because they said, "Where is what's her name?" But I think she's credited as the girl, though. I
yeah.
believe.
But James Taylor and Dennis Wilson are essentially are a couple of drag racers, and they're driving their car cross country drag racing for side bets. They go to drag strips and do street racing, and they try to win money to keep on going east
Mm,
and just to keep on driving. So they end up meeting up with Laurie Bird. Laurie Bird's kind of a hippie girl of the era, and she's just kind of drifting around, and she ends up pitching a ride with them, and she comes along for the ride, and eventually you are introduced to Warren Oates, and Warren Oates is driving the GTO. He's going west to east the same way, and he keeps through at the early parts of the movie. He keeps passing James Taylor, passing the '55 Chevy, keeps passing them back and forth, and then they finally meet up, and he's kind of a Warren Oates is kind of a prick, and he like kind of challenges them. You know, he kind of challenges them. They end up challenging for pink slips to race to Washington D.C. to,
mm.
but it ends up just being kind of a, but the movie, but then they just end up kind of hanging out and driving cross country and
Yeah,
just yeah. So
I think the girl was a big part of this story. I think it
mm,
kind of changed both of their uh,
yeah,
director. I mean, she kind of got involved and kind of threw them all off a little bit on what they were doing, and kind of missed them up for a minute, and then not to give away everything, but by the time the movie ends, she's already moved on to somebody else, and then
Yeah. Well, here's something interesting I thought about, and I'm probably reading way too deep in this movie. It's just a problem when you watch a lot of Hitchcock and watch a lot of different movies like David Lynch movies. Think you just you tend to like look into characters a little more deeper than you probably should
mm-hmm.
be. I'm sure this isn't any kind of meeting. I haven't read this anywhere. I haven't seen any videos about this, but I think there's a parallel between James Taylor, between the driver and the Warren Oates character, almost like Warren Oates is the future man, and he's the future James, the future driver, because they have parallel because they're doing because especially when it comes to the scene at the end where Laurie Bird ends up leaving, like they're both trying to convince her to go with one another to like, and they're wanting like the fit they're wanting James Taylor's wanting to go to Columbus and Warren Oates is wanting to go to Florida, and they're both trying to get her to go with them. And but their stories are the same in the way they're communicating. They're both their communications. They're communicating like the same way, and you can kind of see James Taylor. You can see throughout the movie, like he's kind of slowly slipping. You can see that he has something kind of like going wrong with his mentally, kind of like, and that's the thing about Warren Oates. There's clearly something wrong with him because when he picks up a passenger, he keeps picking up hitchhikers along the way because he's by himself. So he's picking up hitchhikers, and he keeps telling the hitchhikers the same story. These over elaborated, lavish stories about his past, supposedly, but you pretty much figure out that they're just stories. More than likely, they're stories from people who have ridden with him, and he's just picking up their stories and telling them for his own. So
Mm-hmm.
I just find and James Taylor's really quiet, so he don't talk a lot in the movie. His character doesn't have a lot of dialogue, so I feel like there's some kind of weird parallel to these characters, and I don't know if that's intended or it's just something I've looked into too far.
Yeah, he kind of has an intensity about him. Like he's very set on a plan. It's almost like he's
Yeah,
one with the car and even the mechanic, because the
yeah,
mechanic, he's listening to it. He's like, "Oh, we next stop, we gotta adjust the carburetor or something." I
yeah,
mean, they're so in tune with the car, and then the
yeah,
girl comes into the mix and kind of messes up the whole flow. It's almost like
yeah,
messing up the engine somehow. And
yeah,
and yeah, there might be a parallel because he finally gets to him, and he
yeah,
he becomes out of character all of a sudden. He starts to really forget what they're doing, and he's focused on her. He's like, you know, what's going on with you, and then So I don't know. There might be something there. I mean, there might be a. I mean, that may have been Warren Oates when he was younger, or something, and then life gets in the way, and
yeah,
you know, changes that element
yeah,
that you had when you're young. When you're young and free, and you don't have commitments, and that's all they have is their car. They got to, they're free. They're ultimately the freest,
yeah,
and Warren Oates has been. You can tell he's been through some stuff in his life, and he's trying to
yeah.
recapture his youth, maybe, or something. I don't, something like that. Um, but yeah, there might be a parallel there. It's something I can't put my finger on it exactly, but
Yeah,
that's what's fun about it. You can keep
I,
watching it. More times you see it, the more
yeah,
times you can kind of figure stuff out a little bit.
yeah. That's the thing. I don't know if it was intended that way because they don't talk. I've never seen anybody talk about that. So
Hmm.
it may not be intentional. You could just be looking into it like that. They may just two guys that were influenced by a girl, and
Hmm.
guys can sometimes be like that. The girl can have a
Yeah.
lot of influence on them, and
Hmm.
they kind of
Yeah.
draws them away, makes them lose focus.
Yeah. Because she was kind of like with the mechanic at first. I think she was kind of
Yeah,
all over him first, and then she kind of got bored. She was kind of started talking to the driver more, and then the driver really lost his focus. You know, the mechanic seemed like he just bounced right to who he
Yeah.
was and didn't matter. And then,
Yeah.
so yeah, it did kind of threw off their, you know, thing a little bit there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah, Laurie Bird was. I mean, it was just kind of that free love thing, where you just kind of bounced around and you just had sex
mhm,
with whoever, They just that was just kind of that hippie kind of hangover, from
mentality.
the
Yeah.
60s. I mean, the hippies were still strong in the 70s. Don't get me wrong; they
Hmm.
were still around in the 70s, still kind of drifting around. And
Hmm.
I mean, you just back in those days, it's kind of a shame, we're losing our car culture day after day, because I mean you're definitely never going to have the car culture like you did then, because back in those days just about everybody's dad worked on cars, and those guys knew how to work on cars. And now you know I mean I can work on cars a little bit, and I do
Hmm.
it just because I've been around it my whole life. But
Yeah.
and but and I fool with
Yeah.
cars some, but we just don't. The new cars, you can't do nothing with. Even my truck, I'd usually take it and get it serviced, even though I can service myself, but it's cheaper just to take it and get Toyota to do it
Hmm.
instead of But
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah. It's it kind of yeah, it's kind of a difference then. You know, back then, you
yeah,
know, you worked on your car. It was a skill. You know, it was a skill you had, and you took care of your own stuff, and it was and then your kids learned from the dad, and so on and so forth, and basic
well,
stuff to on up.
yeah,
But like you said, nowadays
okay,
that kind of know-how is kind of a almost a lost art in a way. I mean, it's not completely lost, but you know there's a big percentage of people that don't know anything about anything. They don't even know how to check their oil, let alone
I agree.
change the
Yeah.
oil or something.
Thanks, Sydney Eubanks. I'm sorry I missed I forgot to pull up my chat menu a minute ago, and I had got lost into talking about the movie, and I wasn't looking. So thank you for the comment. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
Hope you're still around. I hope you didn't run off.
We chase you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a
Yeah.
good point,
Sorry.
man.
Sorry. Sorry. I dropped in there, Mike. I needed to say that.
No,
Mm.
that's fine.
That's a
That was
good
a good point
comment.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually some really good car chase movies. You got to kind of look hard. Like another good one is, we could have made this more in the double feature if we really wanted to, but I wanted to keep it, you know, focus on
Mhm.
just the two movies or one or two movies a week. I think it makes it easier instead of trying to talk about 20 movies. But
Yeah.
another good one is Dirty Larry, Crazy Mary. That's another.
Oh
That's
yeah.
another good.
Hmm.
And if you've heard Tarantino talk about it in his movies, he's a big fan of that. He's a big fan of these movies as well, especially
Hmm.
Vanishing Point. Obviously, it was a big influence for him on uh,
Death Proof.
Death Proof. Yeah, excuse me. I always forget the name of that. But Death
Yeah.
Proof. The second part of Death Proof, they're talking about the Vanishing Point car, but kind of finishing up on Two Lane Blacktop. I was going to ask you, Mike, do you have the Laserdisc of Two Lane Blacktop? Because I've looked into it, but it's hard to get. It wasn't
No,
like a big release.
I don't, but I have the laser disc, the Vanishing Point, though.
Oh, awesome! That's an awesome cover. I love that
Yeah.
cover. I don't. I
Yeah, it's
don't
pretty cool.
have. I don't have it, so I've never
Yeah.
actually looked for it really.
Yeah, I came across Vanishing Point. I may have got it in that big lot I was talking about that time. I think it may have been in it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool cover because it's got a lot of the characters in the movie in there. Um, but yeah, like for the longest time, I didn't realize that Criterion released it on Laserdisc, two lane blacktop that is, way back in the '90s and stuff. And then of course the Blu-ray and DVD um, are out of print, hard to find now and stuff um, of the
It, is
two lane
is the
blacktop.
is the Blu-ray out of print? The
I believe it is. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't quote, and I think it is. I mean, I
yeah,
have the Eureka Masters of Cinema versions, and seeing you got
yeah,
the Criterion.
yeah.
Yeah, I got this version. It's probably pretty similar. It's probably got a lot of the same stuff.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, this was God, this was like the first or second um, Region 2 Blu-ray I ever bought. Like when I got this, it was like it was all new to me. It was like, ooh, Region 2, wow. So it's really cool. And what's cool about it is the steel book. I didn't realize it, and I got a phenomenal deal on it. It was like, wow,
Yeah,
and it was brand new too. So I was like,
that's awesome.
yeah. Sometimes you can find
But
deals and stuff.
along the way, like I was saying, Warren Oates picks up some people. He picks up another precarious um, hitchhiker by the name of Harry Dean Stanton. If you're anybody out
That's a
there
hell.
familiar with Harry Dean Stanton, and he's a fellow Kentuckian here, and he's a
That was kind of a
character
funny
into
scene.
himself. Yeah,
That was a funny scene. I
I,
always forget about it until it
yeah,
happens, and it's like it's just the way he responds to him or something.
yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was trying to cut
Oh
in
no,
there.
and it's funny because Warren Notes its responses, it's like basically get out. He does that a few times to some of the hitchhikers. He's just
Yeah.
basically it's just the way he looks when he says it. It's so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny this way.
Well, Harry Dean Stanton actually plays. He plays a. Well, he's like wearing. I guess he just looks like your usual. I guess southwestern shit kicker. You know, wearing a cowboy hat and just blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. Nothing special, but he gets in and he thanks him for the ride, and like he literally just gets a couple miles up the road, and he's like he reaches over and puts his hand on Warren Oates' leg, and he's like, and as soon as he touches his leg, he says, "Nope, I'm not into that." And then
Yeah.
it cuts away, and then later on, he stays with him, and at night, in the middle of this big rainstorm, he tries to kick him out, and
Hmm.
Harry Dean Stanton turns to him, and like he's like crying, he like actually cries in the scene, and like, and he's
Yeah.
pleading
He's
not
the
to kick him out, and he
yeah.
says,
It's
"Yeah,
I was gonna say it's really different for even Harry Dean Stanton. It was just it's kind of a cool cameo. I don't know. It's just
yeah." They said he was probably when he was on set, he said he's probably grumbling. He said he's probably grumbling because I think he wanted the Warren Oates part, and they
mm,
said he was kind of grumbly. But he said when it came to doing his part, he was like perfection, playing that part. And I don't think he was really into playing a gay character either, but he played it, and
yeah,
did
yeah,
a good job,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But yeah. Um, but yeah, he picks up some really interesting hitchhikers along the way. I mean, he picks up this old lady and her granddaughter, I believe, and
Yeah.
it's just it
Yeah.
shows his patience like that
Yeah.
whole time. He takes them and he's helping them out of the car, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's just it's interesting.
Well, and it's a weird scene too because the scene it happens right after they nearly get in the bad car wreck. They actually almost get into a bad car wreck, avoiding another car wreck in the middle of the road.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's a strange scene because James Taylor gets out, and after they're like all kind of shook up, and he gets out and walks over to the crash scene, and there's like a guy like hanging out of one car dead, and and the other guys standing there saying, he's just crazy. He's just flying, and like right in the middle of the road, I couldn't avoid him, and he was,
Hmm.
and then it cuts to that scene where she picks up where Warren Oates picks up the old lady and the child, and the old lady's like really strange. She's like, but she's obviously been traumatized because I don't know if she's the grandmother of the child or we assume she is, but apparently the
Yeah.
parents had been killed just like a couple of days before in an automobile accident.
Hmm.
And he's literally taking them to the cemetery for the funeral because you can see they pan the camera into the cemetery, and you
Hmm.
can see like it's like a funeral in the background. It's really strange,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
It's it's like you can kind of draw some comparisons of some of the stuff that's going on with them and
Yeah,
stuff, and you don't really know if it's like a what do you call it, like foreshadowing anything, but it really doesn't. But at the same time, maybe it's a
Yeah.
thought. Maybe Warren Oates is thinking this is dangerous racing, or those guys are going to die because
Yeah.
they raced, and I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not really 100% sure about what that's saying. I guess it's open to interpretation. I guess.
Yeah. But overall, I think it's quite an excellent movie. I know you feel the same way about it. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of it. I actually didn't know anything about the movie until probably 10 years ago. Is when I first
Mhm.
found out about it. That's about when I bought it on the Criterion. I can't remember what brought me to it. I think I may have just seen it like in Barnes and Noble or something, and it's like I'm gonna pick this up, and it looks
Yeah,
interesting.
that's just like the same thing with me. I got that about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I had heard of it, but I had never seen it, and I totally wasn't aware of it. It was on Criterion at all. Um, I may have seen it like in a documentary or something somewhere, but I picked it up, and it was really good. But yeah, I was really impressed with James Taylor and Dennis Wilson. I mean, I guess they're both
Hmm.
first time actors in there, and I thought they were really natural and believable. And
Yeah.
they didn't seem put on or anything. They just seemed like genuine guys. Like I really could believe those were those guys, and stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Here's something interesting else I picked up. I thought about it earlier, and then I got talking about something else and forgot about it.
Mhm.
But it's kind of interesting. uh, when they were shooting the movie, they went out and just shot it on the road, kind of like Easy Rider. They just shot it while they were going, and he would give them the script the night. He would give them their lines the night before,
Mhm.
and because he wanted it to be fresh like that, he wanted them to kind of. I don't know his exact reasoning, but he wanted the actors not to have the script. Basically have he didn't give them a whole script at the beginning and have them memorize their lines. I think they were probably revising it as they went along and fitting the mood better in there. So they were probably rewriting a lot of things as they went, like they do a lot in the movies. They rewrite the lines and things, not necessarily the script, but just rewrite lines and change them up and make them fit better. So,
Yeah.
but James Taylor did not like this at all. And in fact, he supposedly protested over this and refused to work for a couple of days until they would give him the script so he could memorize it. He was so uncomfortable not acting, he wanted the whole script, and he like actually protested
Oh wow.
it. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. But he basically he's refused to work for a couple of days until they agreed to give him the script.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I could see that being a first time actor, or something, and not used to that. But yeah, I think that's pretty commonplace, people
Yeah.
changing stuff up as production goes on and stuff. But yeah, he was probably nervous. He's wanting to really learn the script probably and get it down and stuff. And, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I,
But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. But I think this was Laurie Bird's first movie as well. I'm positive it is because they talk about casting her and how she had actually been asked to come in for just like a just to help, I guess, do some. I guess Monty Hellman knew her and he wanted her to come in and just, I guess, kind of do test readings with other actors like they do sometimes. They'll have actors come in and to read lines while another person's rehearsing or basically to read lines during a casting. Excuse me, while they're trying to get cast. But
yeah,
so eventually they were like, she seems to be perfect. She's basically exactly the character. So they end up hiring her to come in and play that
mhm,
character. So it's a pretty cool thing.
yeah,
They and they said she was kind of really like that in real life. She was kind of a hippie chick like that. So that was kind of her real life persona in a way.
yeah. Well, she kind of had a kind of a dark side, or her life would play out kind of dark. I mean, I think she had some issues. Um, she evidently killed herself in like 1979, which is about 8 years later. Um, Apparently, she was dating Art Garfunkel of Simon and Garfunkel, and I don't know if they were having a breakup or something was going wrong, and she apparently um, killed herself. I guess I think she was also associated with Monty Hellman, like they had a brief relationship or something like that. But she seemed like she was a troubled person, off screen and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting, but kind of sad, at the same time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, she's
She's
she's got
interesting in that part.
yeah, she's got some. She's definitely got that hippie chick thing going on, and she seems real, realistic. Just that's it's almost like they picked these people up, like they were real people. These were the people. They were just. I think it was really good cast, um, and everything, and
Yeah.
plus,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Warren Oates. I think he's just really underrated, and he's in
Yeah.
so many different kinds of movies, and he hit that peak in the '70s, and he just did so many
Yeah.
interesting parts and stuff, and it's sad that he passed away too soon, also. But
He
yeah,
died in what 81 or something like that. 80,
yeah,
81.
I think he did Stripes. I think Stripes was his last movie that he was in, and it's funny because that's a lot of that was filmed at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and he was from Kentucky and stuff like that. So
80, 82.
it was 82. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he
He
wasn't
was
he wasn't young, but he wasn't that old either. He just yeah.
1920, 1928 to 82.
Yeah,
So was it 60s or
yeah, I
somewhere
think so.
around 60s, late 50s, early
Yeah,
60s. Sorry, I can't do the math that quick.
yeah. No, actually, he was 53.
53. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
he
He was
wasn't that
born.
bad young.
No, he was born in a
That bad
city
old.
called
Excuse me.
no, Depoy, Kentucky. I've never heard of it. It's like one county over from being in Tennessee, down kind of western Kentucky area. But yeah. Oh, Muhlenberg. It's in Muhlenberg County.
Okay. I think I know. It's kind of interesting. This guy I used to know. I thought his name was Danny Coy. He was a musician. He played. He was just a friend of some of. He's just a friend of some of our some one of my other friends. But they were all down from this kind of area, of Kentucky, and his band was called the Decoys. But I don't know if it was named after that town or it was named after him. I don't know. I don't know if it's kind of a
Mm,
both. But the reason why, but they were down from that around that part of Kentucky, and because they played a show in it was in North Carolina, or I apologize, I can't remember where it's from now, but they played a show down there. But it's kind of a weird thing because that name's familiar to me,
mhm.
and he was from in that
Yeah,
area. So,
yeah.
but
It's pretty cool. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know. I guess in a way
sorry,
you think there's not that many famous people from Kentucky, and it's kind of cool though when some
yeah,
legends are from this area. It's kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah. On a
Yeah,
side note.
he was just a great character actor. He worked. I mean,
Yeah.
he did a lot of things. I can't even say that I've even watched even a small percentage of what he's made, movies he's made. But he was
Mhm.
definitely friends with Peckinpah. He did a lot. He was always a good, always character actor, character parts in
Mhm.
Peckinpah movies. That's pretty much what Peckinpah used him for, except for Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, which he let him star in,
Yeah.
which would be their last movie together. Correct? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Peckinpah died just about the same time Warren Oates did, or maybe a little bit before.
I think Peckinpah died in 84, 83, 84, something like that.
Okay,
Because it
I thought it was
wasn't.
early '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't do
Yeah. It's
really
around
anything.
around that time.
Did he do anything after Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia that I can even
Oh.
remember? I don't.
Oh. Peckinpah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did. He did about three, four. He did about five more movies, I think, after that,
Okay.
because he did Convoy in like '78, and
Yeah.
the Ulsterman Weekend, I think, was his last movie.
Okay.
Yeah, he did about five more movies, I think,
Okay.
something like that.
But well, before we get off topic too far, we can talk about this later. But I was going to tell, for a while with Cinerama 60, I named it Cinerama 60 without really having really a meaning behind the 60 part, and the 60 really didn't really mean anything because we usually do more than 60 minutes. It would make sense if we just did 60 minutes, but I think basically what we ought to shoot for, Mike, is we'll talk about our main subject matter for 60
Mhm.
minutes, and then we talk about whatever the last 60 minutes. So you always have 60
Yeah,
minutes on movie, 60 minutes off
yeah,
topic. So
yeah. Well, it, it
yeah,
it sounds better than Cinerama 120.
yeah.
You know what I mean,
It, it,
or
well,
Cinerama 130.
it was just simply something that rolled off my tongue. The Cinerama 60.
Mhm.
It just sounded good together. That's the only reason I did
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah,
I just kept it. I thought it'd be oddball too. I like naming things kind of oddball things.
yeah. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't get more people in here. Because people don't have any interest in older movies. I don't know,
Well, I think they
or
do,
stuff.
but I think they do, but I think it's just getting those people to the right, you know, YouTubers or something, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's all a bunch of different things have to kind of fall in place all at
yeah,
once. And but
yeah,
I think there's some dedicated people out there, some
yeah.
people that follow my
Well,
channel, and
people definitely like old movies, but I'm not saying we're the only people that like old movies. But
or
there's
maybe
a
other
lot of the
YouTubers.
yeah, a lot of the collectors and stuff that we kind of around don't seem like they're much interested. They buy old movies. I don't think they're watching them per se.
No,
Not all
no,
of them, but
no.
but
I know a few, but
I guess it's time. Let's move on to Vanishing Point
okay.
because this is something. The movie itself, I know very well, but as far as any kind of special knowledge behind the movie, I know a little bit from the documentaries, but I don't know much about
Mhm.
any other special thing going on with any kind of special feature kind of information
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Well, I was going to say, Barry Newman, the star of Vanishing Point, was a really interesting guy. He did some pretty cool movies in the '70s. A lot of them are, I guess you could say cult classics. They're just not well known and stuff. He's got
mm,
that face that you can't quite remember who he is, but you know him. Um, but yeah, of course, Vanishing Point's his most famous movie that he's best known for. But
yeah,
uh,
it
trying to think of
also
this other movie. I'll think of it in just a second. Um,
well, I have the cast here pulled up, but I always it's Cleavon Little, if everybody's familiar with Cleavon Little. I don't know how many other movies Cleavon actually did. This is the other than Blazing Saddles. I mean, everybody knows Cleavon
mhm.
from Blazing Saddles. I mean, but he
Yeah,
did this. Now
I'm on.
this would have been before Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, this was right
Yeah,
before. But yeah, I'm only aware of maybe three movies just right off the top of my head.
yeah.
Of course, Blazing Saddles being the number one. Uh, yeah, it seemed like he was in. I don't know. I think he may have done a lot of TV also. Um,
I'm just looking here. Blazing Saddles, Vanishing Point, and then Once Bitten. He's in that somewheres.
oh yeah, he plays the assistant to the vampire woman, Lauren Hutton. Like his
Yeah,
her keeper, like her
yeah.
manservant person or something.
It's been such a long time. I bet it's been the '80s since I've seen that movie because I've never. I don't think I've bought it on Blu-ray or DVD. So
Yeah, Once Bitten. Yeah, I haven't seen that in at least since the '80s.
I guarantee the last time I've probably never seen that movie in widescreen. I've probably only seen it on VHS, full screen,
Yeah.
pan and
Well,
scan.
there's a couple of movies I'm looking at that he was in that are good. The movie Greased Lightning, which I think that was a movie where Richard Pryor was a like a stock car racer
Yes, yes, yes,
driver, and
yes.
that's a pretty good movie if I remember
Yeah.
right. And then he was in a movie called Cotton Comes to Harlem, which was a kind of an early black exploitation movie, which was
Okay.
really good. It was kind of a it's kind of like a buddy cop movie before buddy cop movies, and
Yeah.
he's in that. He's pretty good. But those are, and then you said Once Bitten, so I think those are like the only ones I've ever seen with him in it.
I see something I see something over called Summer Playhouse. So I don't know if he was kind of more of a stage actor
Yeah,
or so because he seems like he's got really good acting chops. He's always does a really good job whatever he does. So he's
yeah,
definitely got can't
yeah.
say
He
that
was,
anymore.
yeah. I think he's big in the theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, imagine Blazing Saddles without him. It would just be. I mean, they were saying, Richard Pryor was going to be involved in it at one point, but I don't know.
Hmm.
I think I would prefer Cleavon Little to Richard Pryor if they were in the same part.
Yeah,
Even though
Richard.
he wrote some of the movie, but
Yeah, Richard wrote it, but
yeah,
some he was part one of the writers. I think there was three or four
yeah,
writers on it, but
yeah,
and well, I've always heard they might have that's why they were going to justify being able to use all the language they did in the movie, having
hmm
him as a writer,
yeah,
but the reason why he didn't get to play it was for contractual reasons. He was contracted by a different studio. He was under contract by a different studio, and they would not release him to make the movie.
hmm,
Or he had a contract for his comedy. He had some kind of contract that they wouldn't release him, but I think it was another production contract with another studio, and they
hmm,
wouldn't release him to make the movie.
yeah. That sounds about right. I've heard different stuff because it could have been just because he was, he used racy language, because
Yeah,
that was even by
yeah,
1974, it was kind of commonplace for people to be kind of raunchy, by
yeah,
that time.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, and the thing is the way the word's applied. It's not applied in a vicious manner. It's applied that,
mm,
and it's implied to be like kind of
yeah,
making
yeah,
fun of the reason that it's being used.
yeah.
But get back to Vanishing Point. If anybody's never seen Vanishing Point, it is a car chase movie essentially. Once again, which Two Lane Blacktop is not a car chase movie. But Vanishing Point is a car chase movie, and it's a wonderful car chase movie. Uh,
Hmm.
what is his name again? The guy that stars in that. Excuse me.
Oh,
I forget his name. Barry William or Barry Newman, not Barry
uh,
Williams.
Barry,
He wasn't in
yeah,
the
Barry
Brady
Newman.
Bunch. He kind of looks like Barry Williams a little bit with his hair
Yeah,
in the
it's
movie,
kind of
the
like you
curly hair.
picture his face. You picture his face, but you can't quite get that name. That's
Yeah,
me with him.
yeah, Barry Newman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry Newman plays the famous Kowalski. I always want to call him Killer Kowalski, but that's from a different movie. Killer Kowalski. I can't remember. That's from like a boxing movie. I can't remember
Killer
what movie
Kowalski.
he's from. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
but Kowalski is he's a cross country car delivery driver. Basically, back in the day, if you bought a car, they would get in and drive it, cross country if they had to deliver it to a person instead of having it trailered there. Just one thing. You but the adventure starts in Denver. It's going to be Denver, and he needs to make it to San Francisco by Monday morning, I believe, and it's like a Friday or Saturday. So he just
Oh,
tears ass. He makes a stop and gets some speed from the local dealer, and he's on his way across country, and it's just a high speed pursuit from there on. He's being chased by cops, and it's just him with a hammer down pretty much. And
Mm-hmm.
different than the movie's interesting because it has a lot of flashback scenes. You get to learn about his life through flashback, and
Mm-hmm.
different flashbacks happen at different times of the movie. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I think
And
he was a police officer or something at one point.
yes, he was. The storyline is he was in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
and then after he gets discharged from Vietnam, he becomes a police officer, and then for a couple years, and then he's dishonorably discharged from the police force, but you don't know why. And then I have a feeling that it probably surrounds the scene that's in the movie because he
Mm-hmm.
prevents essentially a rape by a fellow cop. I don't know if it's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
rape, but he was the basically he's in the front seat, and there's another cop kind of interrogating this young girl in the back seat, trying to get information about where somebody's hiding drugs at. And he's witnessing this, and the guy gets too rough with the girl. He tears her shirt open, and after that he's had enough, and he stops the guy and makes her get out and run away. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that might be the reason why that he gets kicked off the force. But they say he's a detective at the end, so that he's in like a patrolman's suit when he's in that part. So I don't know, but we can assume it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
probably something that's looked on in the police force is bad, but something looked upon in society is probably good, possibly.
yeah, yeah. He probably like broke the code of
Yeah,
silence with the police, and he's probably ostracized out of the police force and stuff. But yeah, you see those flashbacks, and it slowly builds this picture of him, who he is and why he's doing what he's doing, because it seems like he's just going full throttle, like you say, like he's not like he's not obeying any kind of traffic rules. He's just going, he's just going full throttle. He's not
yeah,
going to stop and everything. So yeah, it's
and
another one of those movies that you can watch over and over and kind of put pieces together and think, oh, okay,
yeah.
I see what's going on here.
But Cleavon Little plays Super Soul. Super Soul is a blind DJ, and he's like he's broadcasting out of this little small town, and I think they're in. Actually, I don't know where they're at. They actually don't explain where he's at. He's always in the region because he's picking him up from the beginning on his radio. So I think he's like in Nevada or something like that. But this little small
Mm-hmm.
desert town, and it apparently like the whole radio crew is like black. Like all of the people in it, they're all black. So they're like these anomaly in the middle of this little town. So because you see all these
Yeah.
people kind of they're kind of eyeballing the place and stuff, like whenever
Mm-hmm.
he's walking the thing, all the people are kind of looking over their shoulder at giving him the kind of the stink
Yeah.
eye look, so. And
Yeah.
but he's basically a political DJ for the most part, who plays like really good music at the time. And but he's always kind of preaching almost to this, and he's always preaching to his audience about, I guess, the disservice of whatever's going on in the
Yeah.
society,
Yeah.
societal disturbances, whatever. But he he ends up finding out over the police scanner about the police chase going on between Kowalski and the police, and he starts talking to Kowalski through the radio and communicating with him, and basically telling him basically what the police know, and he's kind of telling him information and different things throughout the movie. And
Mm-hmm.
then but you see the town folk are listening to this happening and listen to what he's saying, and they're slowly starting to gather around the radio station outside and listening to what he's saying. And so you could tell some of the people are angry, but some people are just interested in what he has to say, and they're just kind of congregating around the outside as the movie goes along.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to, before cell phones and internet, that was a good way to keep somebody up to date on what's going on, and keep them one step ahead of the cops and roadblocks and different things,
Yeah,
because they're like listening to like the police radio and stuff, right? The whole time, like
yeah,
the other guy, and they're
yeah.
getting, yeah. So that's pretty cool.
But as in Two Lane Blacktop with the '56 Chevy being a character all into itself, this movie also has a focal point car. The only car really in the movie other than the police cars, but it's a 1970 Dodge Challenger with the 426 Hemi. White, W1 White. White. I grew up with Chrysler. That's one of my favorite cars. Actually, I like the Plymouth Cuda better than the Challenger, but the Challenger's a
Yeah.
good looking. They're pretty much both similar cars. It's
Yeah.
based. They're both
Oh yeah.
pony cars
Yeah.
based off the same chassis,
Yeah.
essentially.
Their front end's a little slightly different, but yeah, they're a lot alike. I used to not be
Yeah,
able to keep them up, apart, you know. But yeah.
yeah. The Challenger has that down the center of the body line has like a ridge, and the Scuda
Mm,
don't have that ridge like the that runs down the side of the car. And yeah,
yeah.
and the front ends are different. There's some little bit different. I think technically the Challengers are the wheelbase is. I think they're an inch longer. They made them a little bit longer. They're slightly longer than the Cuda.
Mm,
So and
yeah.
it's such a
Yeah.
cool color. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say I chose a Challenger over the Cuda, Barracuda. If I had the choice, I think I would. Um, but I'm surprised Dodge hasn't come out with the new, like a Barracuda. That's with all the
They've
success of the Challenger.
they've they've talked about it for they've talked about it and had some. They've a couple times had some concept stuff, but it's never came out. They've
Hmm.
never done anything with it really. And
Yeah.
two, they don't have the now it's would have to be the Dodge Cuda. It wouldn't be they don't they discontinued the Plymouth line.
Yeah.
So, but they
Yeah.
it's been in talks because most people are either you like one or the other. I like them both. My dad actually has a '73 Challenger right now, 340 car. It's not a big block car, but it's a
Hmm.
it's a good looking car.
Yeah.
It's like a custom color. It's like a black cherry type color. It's like almost
Yeah.
black, a
Yeah. I
little
mean, yeah,
Chevy in it though.
those paint jobs
You know,
are just so iconic. Those,
yeah,
and they're only on those model cars. Like Plum Crazy Purple
yeah,
and
yeah.
the
Lime
green and
green.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
Lime green. Yeah. But yeah,
I'm
that's.
I'm pretty sure though the Vanishing Point car. I think they Chrysler calls it. Think in '70 it was called W1 White. Now I might be wrong about that because what's weird though is if between Dodge and Plymouth, like they all have the same colors for the cars, but they'll be called something different. Like everything was something different. Like on the Cuda, it was the 446 pack car. Like they had the six pack, the three deuce, but I think they called it something different. The Dodge called it something different. Same motor, same car. All everything's obviously the same, but they had to call it something different where it was Plymouth versus Dodge. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember. I should know that it was six pack and like they maybe three deuce or something on the others, but
Yeah.
the the car.
It's like I don't even think of that. Even though that was a Dodge and a Plymouth. I still in my mind it's the same. Like GM.
Yeah.
You got Chevy and Buick and
Mhm.
GMC and all that's all GM. And yeah, I didn't really think about that. And then you got the Super B, which was a myth, wasn't that was Plymouth also, wasn't it? The
Yeah. But you talking
was
about
it the,
was the
the
Super B
Superbird?
or
Bird.
Superbird. Yeah, Superbird was Plymouth. The Daytona was
Yeah,
Dodge.
Daytona. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Daytona came out in '69, and then Plymouth came out with the Superbird in '70 for NAS. They were pretty much made for NASCAR.
Hmm.
I'm quite aware of that car because my dad had one.
With the spoiler on it, big
Yeah,
spoiler. Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah. My grandfather sold Chrysler in the '60s, so and like my dad was probably only about 11 or 12 when in '70, so so my grandfather gave my dad and my uncle both one because you got to understand something. People say, "Oh man, how can you do that?" You know how since because for one, those cars didn't cost much of anything. They were probably at best $3,000 for a
Mm-hmm.
Superbird. 440 Superbird, or the Hemis are more rare, and the Superbirds are the rare Superbirds, but most of them are like 440 pack cars.
Mm-hmm.
There could have been some 383s in there. There's some rare. Sometimes there's some rare bird combinations, um,
Mm-hmm.
but the I lost my train of thought there. But
Oh, oh, you're talking about the price uh, of the cars back then compared to now. Well, I mean,
well,
1970 money. I mean, 3,000 would have been,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
like would be still be like 10 grand now or more, a
yeah.
little bit more maybe.
Well, I'm trying to think. I can't remember what the sticker. I'll have to ask my dad what the sticker price was on that car. But he, I think my dad's car was actually used. Somebody had brought it back. But what I was getting, I'm
Mm.
sorry, I lost my train of thought. But what I was getting at is those cars were not very popular because they just, they looked strange back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason Chrysler built them, they built just enough of them. There's only couple thousand of them ever made, but they made just enough of them so that it could qualify for. You had to make so many of a production number of a car back in the day to get into for a car for the body in car for a car to be in NASCAR. It had to have so many production runs, and I think it had to be like 1,500 or 2,000. So
Mm-hmm.
they made just enough of them so they could be in NASCAR. So
Yeah.
that's why the numbers are so low. But back in the day, nobody wanted them.
Mm-hmm.
So and now they're $300,000 cars.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true, man. I mean, you can imagine like 1969, 70 pulling up in a, you know, one of those, and it's just probably not something you would see all over the place,
I mean, they're not stupid looking. I mean, back in the '70s, they were
Mm-mm.
radical, but I think that's why nobody wanted them. They were just kind of a radical looking car.
Yeah, the average
But
person now, well, the average now would want a Mustang and it'd be fine, but back then, if you had a
yeah,
something like that, it would be kind of strange,
yeah.
different.
Well, I mean, people still wanted a Mustang then too. Well, I don't know about the Mustang. Well, Mustang's probably not too bad in '70.
Yeah,
I like them kind of before then, but I don't have
yeah,
much opinion. It gets up into there, but
yeah. I don't know,
sorry, I
just because
got
the
on such
Mustang.
a Superbird tangent talking about the Superbird. We got on that tangent so much. It's a
Yeah,
subject matter I know too much about.
I couldn't resist, man. I had to talk about it a little bit.
No, that's fine. I like talking about cars.
See, that's
Yeah,
something, man, like me and you are close in age, and we grew up,
yeah,
looking at cars, and we can name body styles and years and makes and models and stuff. And that's something that's hard with younger kids nowadays. You can't, like I've tried to do it over the years with my
yeah,
boys and stuff, and they'll
yeah.
they'll see a Corvette and think it's a Lamborghini or something, and it's like,
Well, those
no,
new ones
no,
do look like Ferraris.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
The
They'll
new
see
ones,
like a Camaro. They'll see like a
yeah.
Camaro and think it's a like a lamb. They're called a Lambo or something. It's like no, no,
Oh yeah,
no.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like I think that's a lost thing. I mean, I think kids still know makes and models, but it's you
yeah.
know
If they're
I think
interested
we're
in
kind
that
of
kind of stuff, yeah.
yeah, but I don't see
I,
how you could not be interested
I,
in that. It's just
I mean, I know a bit about. I probably know more than the average bear, but it's nothing like what my dad. My dad can name everything. Like if he sees something, he knows it's like a 49 Nash or something
Hmm.
oddball stuff, or he knows the year differences between models of cars. That like the difference between a 62 3 Chevrolet, the difference one year from the next, they may have different headlights, and he can look at the car and see, he's like, oh yeah, they had those headlights, that must be a 62, or,
Hmm.
all that stuff. I know some of that stuff, but not as any detail that he knows it. I mean, he knows it,
Yeah,
everything,
yeah, that's like
you
my
know.
dad. He'll go back way back to the 50s cars, 40s and stuff,
Yeah,
which I kind of know base models, and stuff, but I don't know that deep of
yeah,
the differences and stuff. And that's kind of like how my dad is.
yeah.
But yeah. But anyways, I don't know. I think these movies, it kind of car lovers will be drawn to these movies even if they've never seen it. You know, um, even somebody younger that's gotten into cars and be like, yeah, you get to see the actual car back then, really, tearing ass through the town and stuff,
Yeah.
and everything. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, you don't have to be a car nut to love these movies at all, but it's kind of cool.
And I apologize. I didn't write it down earlier. I should have wrote the guy's name down. I can't remember who does the guy that does the stunt driving in this, but he was a race car driver and just a famous stunt driver too. I apologize. I
Mhm.
don't know his name, but he was a great driver because the thing is, those cars are cool now. They're cool cars, but they're more like a drag car. They're meant to go in a straight line. They're not like cars
Yeah.
today where they build them to take corners and stuff. Those cars were not made to take corners. So
Hmm.
the driving he does in this movie is very impressive. They had big heavy motors in the front. The Hemi was a big old monster heavy motor, and they were meant to go straight. And they
Yeah.
had a lot of horsepower, and they got squirrely quick. They were short wheelbase. Pony cars are short wheelbase, high horsepower cars that they, you got to be a serious driver to really get into them.
Yeah. Yeah. You take a hard ride or something, and everybody and everything flies to the side there because it
Yeah.
doesn't handle at all, and stuff. So, but yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what's really cool. I mean, off subject again, but the other day I
Yeah.
watched the original uh, Italian Job. It's got Michael Caine,
Yeah.
and it's a really good car movie too. I mean, it's got
Yeah.
some really good stunt driving in it. It's got the little Mini Coopers, and it's got some
Yeah.
other cars in it. But yeah, you really appreciate the stunt drivers and the techniques and how they really had to know how to drive and stuff to really make it look real. You know, but yeah, I mean that's I don't know off the
Yeah.
subject. I know.
That was a good the original Italian Job. I can't. I think I only have it on Laserdisc. I don't think I've ever bought the original on DVD. I don't know if I'd have it or not.
There's a pretty decent Blu-ray out, and it's got like 3 or 4 little mini documentaries on there about it and stuff, and it's pretty interesting. It looks really good. It's good
I'll have to
transfer
look
and
and see if I have that or not. I'm not positive at the moment. I know I
yeah.
have it on Laser, but I've never
Mhm.
bought it on there. But the remake's decent too with Mark
Oh
Wahlberg
yeah,
and Charlize
yeah,
Theron.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've seen that one first,
they're yeah,
anyways. So and similar thing, Gone in 60 Seconds. I mean, they're both
yeah,
two different kinds of movies, but they're both
yeah,
good in their own way.
yeah,
But yeah, back to the Vanishing Point movie, and you basically just got him the whole time,
yeah,
and him and his driving, and the because there's really just basically cop cars. I mean, there's some scenes where bulldozers set up roadblocks, and I think some cop cars slam into them, and there's some stuff like
yeah.
that. But
Yeah, I'd written that down in my notes actually. That about the opening. That's the opening scene where you see the bulldozers
mm,
pulling up alongside the road and then blocking the road, and that's just some really nice cinematography.
mm,
And the really nice cinematography at the beginning, though, is whether you're where he keeps capturing, the cinematographer captures all these images of the people watching this, and it's all these characters, with like rough faces and just like real looking people, and they're just watching all this stuff unfold, and that happens throughout the movie too, and like they actually talk about that in that documentary where he said, yeah, that kind of becomes part of the movie, the capturing these images of people, the people in the crowds, and the different,
mm,
these facial expressions and stuff are just really nice cinematography. There's some
mm.
great landscapes because I've never driven from Denver to there, but I've driven out in that area of the country, and it's just spectacular. I don't know if you've been Southwest or anything, but
I
it's
haven't
just
been out west. No,
it's
not yet.
just beautiful country out there. I think it is like, if you live out there, you come east and you see all the trees and all the green. It's a different. You may love it out here, but if you come from here and go out there, you're like, man, I like seeing the rock format. I like seeing all the rock in the desert, and it's
Open space.
I haven't been out there much. I've only been out there a couple times. I went out there and helped a girl I was seeing move back from Salt Lake City, so I
Mm.
we drove all the way back across country. So we went down before. While I was out there, I said, since we're close to it, I want to see the Grand Canyon. So we
Oh
drove to
yeah,
the Grand Canyon, and then we drove from there to back to Kentucky. So
yeah. That's somewhere I want to go at least
yeah,
once in my life. Go out to Grand Canyon and stuff like that. My wife wants to go on vacation, go to the beach a lot, and it's like, yeah, the beach is cool, but I like to go see some other stuff too. But yeah, maybe one day I'll make it out there. So,
yeah. I went to Las Vegas once, but we flew out there. Me and my dad flew out there. We got to go to a drag race out there. He had his work. He won tickets to go see one of the drag races out there, and so we
oh
got to
yeah,
go to like a little 3 day Vegas vacation.
mm,
No pun
that's
intended.
cool.
But yeah, but
Yeah. Did you ever go to like Ohio Valley up in Louisville ever to the drag strip there?
yeah, we
Any?
raced there few times.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
yeah. We had a Regal, a Buick Regal that was we had it built up with a 350 ZZ4 crate motor, and we kind of
mhm.
semi dragged it a few times and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's so it was such a heavy car.
Ohio Valley. I don't know if it's still like it. It was a short track. It had like a really short runoff. They didn't have
Yeah,
the.
I mean, does an eighth of a mile sound right?
Yeah, that's right.
To
It was an eighth of a
uh,
mile. Yeah.
yeah, it's something like that. I haven't been out there in at least 10 years or more. Um,
The reason I was
yeah,
asking, I didn't know if it had recently, if they've extended the track and made it longer, because it seemed like it had like a real short runoff. It was an eighth of a mile and then had like a real short runoff. But they had national events there. They had like IHRA national events. I don't. It might be NHRA now,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it was a good track. I like the location of it because we used to go down there for their national events and things usually. So
yeah. I know there's that one, and then there's one like Bowling Green, and then
yeah.
what's the other one?
Well, there's one up here close to us, and um, well, I went blank on the name, but it's Clay City.
Clay City. Yeah,
Yeah, but
there's another place.
yeah, there's another one up off of 64 or some place, I believe, up north, going up around the Ashland area, I believe.
Mm, okay. Yeah, yeah. My dad, we did that for a little while, and then he had some heart issues, and he kind of tapered back on
Yeah,
all that excitement, I guess. But it
yeah,
was fun while it lasted.
we drag raced a lot when I was a kid. Uh, pretty much just pretty much just ran like sportsmen. My dad just ran just I don't know what the classes were called. It was just bracket racing basically. And then we
Mm,
got probably in the '90s, and my grandfather got a little more serious. He kind of retired and had some money and built a. We built like a. We had It was called Top Sportsman, which was heads up racing. It was more like pro stock almost. This is a little step below pro stock. And we took that same car and built it in anticipation that they were going to legalize the Hemi in pro modified. It used to not be able to run the Chrysler Hemi blown with a supercharger. You couldn't run it with, you could run one, but you couldn't run a supercharger on it. So we
Mm.
built a supercharged Hemi in anticipation to run in pro modified, and it never come to fruition. We quit racing after at Clay City. We My dad was getting ready to race, and a guy had bought basically a pro stock car, and he had never driven a car that fast, and he ended up crashing and dying. There, he died
Oh
and
wow.
we never did even run. We literally backed the car up and put it in the trailer, and my dad never raced anymore again after that.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's yeah. That's I mean yeah. I
yeah,
mean there's the element of danger. Just
yeah,
like in anything, but it's one of those
yeah.
things, man.
What killed him was he didn't tighten his straps down, his seatbelt straps good. He was
Hmm.
hanging loose in them, so to speak. So when he like he crossed the lane and then ended up barrel rolling down the side of the track and took out the finish lines, um, the sign at the end of the finish line that reads out your time. He took that out, and then he landed. Then the car landed like flat on its top, and where it
Oh
come
wow.
to such a sudden stop where he wasn't strapped down good, where he didn't
Hmm.
buckle, where he didn't have his straps, and he was likely pressed against the back of the seat. He
Hmm.
slammed into the seat belts. That's what they
Oh
say
man.
had happened, and it ruptured his aorta and his
Oh
yeah
wow. That's
yeah
that's awful. But yeah, I
yeah
mean, I kind of grew up with that, as a kid watching, drag racers like Shirley Mondowney and, like funny car drag racing and all that
oh
kind of
yeah
stuff. So yeah. So I mean, yeah, I grew up with a lot of car history, car stuff, in my life. So, um, but
oh
yeah,
yeah
that's
yeah
that's interesting.
yeah. I grew up with it. Like whenever I was any, because actually when I was a baby, my grandfather had a ARCA team, which ARCA is like the Bush series, basically the NASCAR.
Mm,
But back in the day, I don't know if they still do. They may still do it, but ARCA back in the day, they would run super speedways and then they would run dirt tracks too. So it was like both. You'd have like on your team the cars that some of them had like dirt cars, and then they would run a super speedway. They've got pictures at Talladega and Daytona and
mm-hmm.
running and
Hmm.
we. But that I don't really remember any of that. That was when I was a baby
Yeah.
and after that, like when I was younger, my dad truck pulled. We had a pulling truck because like
Oh
truck
yeah.
pulling was like the rage in the early '80s, at least in
Oh
this
yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
country. Like
Mm-hmm.
my dad had just like a modified two-wheel drive pulling truck, and so
Mm-hmm.
I've been around it a
Yeah.
lot. Then we got back into drag racing because
Yeah.
my grandfather drag raced in the '60s. He actually set some records in the it wasn't. It was before the NHRA. It was like the AHRA, the American Hot Rod Association. Before that, he
Mm-hmm.
still holds low ET and factory experimental, which the FX experimental class was the predecessor to funny car.
Oh
If you've
yeah.
ever seen if you ever seen the cars that are they're almost like gassers, but they have modified wheelbases. They like have the real short wheelbases. They kind of look funny.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those type of cars. It was a 65 Plymouth, well, Belvedere, I guess. Plymouth Belvedere.
Yeah. That
You know,
sounds. Yeah. They use
and
that body. Yeah. That's pretty cool, man.
but it was like it had it had a Hemi. He ran the Hemi with a Hemi with a fuel injection on it,
Mm, yeah.
mechanical
That's
fuel
cool.
injection, and the pot, and the velocity stack stuck out through the hood and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's that's like early stuff, you know. I mean, that's like old school, like the
Yeah,
beginnings of all that. Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's around. Like supposedly, my grandfather was really good with. He was really good with motors and stuff, tuning motors, and they claimed that he was good. I mean, before Chrysler, he had Chevrolets and everything else, like everybody, before
mhm,
he owned the Chrysler dealership, and but they said he was known. Everybody would bring the 409s around. He could good about tuning 409, the 409
mm,
engines and stuff. So people would come and
mhm.
bring him his car
Check
and
them
let him
out.
tune them up. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Um,
so,
yeah,
but
yeah. My dad kind of did some, just he's always kind of interested in that, uh, just kind of goofing around and working on cars, souping them up a little bit, and when he was a teenager, and different stuff like that. And then he was in the army for a while, so that kind of slowed stuff down. And then
yeah.
so yeah, he's always been a
When when
gearhead.
when was he in the army?
I think 67 through
Who?
70, 70, 71.
So I assume he went to Vietnam then.
Well, he was stationed in Germany. He was doing some of like he was involved with like weapons disposal or something.
Okay.
It was something weird. It was some kind of specialized thing or something. So I don't know. Maybe he's lucky he didn't go to Vietnam because maybe I wouldn't have been born. I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's what he
Yeah.
did exactly. But he wasn't in combat. But
How old is your dad? Is he? He's
um,
older than mine. It sounds like we're similar
yeah,
age, but your dad.
he was in 48. Um, and they didn't have till they were like 30. So they're gosh, dad's about 75, 76, something like that.
Okay,
So
he's
yeah,
about ten years older than my parents. My dad's like 65 right now. So,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they kind
because
of waited a while. They got married in 67. So
okay,
if they would have had me then, I'd be much older, and who
yeah,
knows. But yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of weird though. But yeah, it's weird. Like they didn't have me till they were in their third. They were 30, and I didn't my son
yeah,
until I was 30. So it was kind of weird how that it wasn't planned like that at all. It's just how it worked out somehow. So
yeah. I don't have any kids, but probably if I would have been in that situation, because a lot of my friends did that as well. They waited to around 30 to have kids. Most of them did, for the most part. I don't know. It seems just like a. I don't know if it's just maybe it's just our generation. I don't know. That does that. Maybe it's being more responsible, kind of trying to find the correct person to marry, so you're not, if you get married early, might marry
yeah,
wrong and get divorced, and go
yeah,
through all that. I don't know.
yeah.
I
Well,
I
some
don't I
some
don't
of
really
it's
know.
luck. I think some of
You
it's
know,
luck. I think because
you know.
I couldn't imagine like I was married before. Uh, I was with my wife that I had my baby
Hmm.
son with. So I'm really glad I didn't have a son with her. I mean, I know she's not going to hear this, but I don't care. But you know what I mean? It's like those mistakes. Like, oh man, I'm so glad that didn't work because that would have it would have. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess somebody was looking out for me.
yeah, yeah.
But but yeah,
Sorry, I didn't
I don't
mean to
know.
hit touch a touchy subject. I didn't know you were remarried. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's not a touchy subject. No, I'm just saying it's like one of those things like you have avoided a bullet or something. You're like really lucky that like
Yeah.
would have been. It's like not with that person. I would have a baby with anybody but that person because that's not somebody I would have.
I've never been married, but it's just hard to because you never know when you get married who you got to at the same time. I guess you got to be able to work at it sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
know, but there's some situations like this Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation that you can't fix it. The person's just not going to cooperate. You can't work, but two good people are going to work together and make it work. And
Mhm. Yeah.
if you're the
There-
right person,
yeah, there's usually a common goal that
yeah,
both people want to stick to, and and sometimes it's not necessarily because you have a kid that they're both going to work together for the kid. That doesn't really work sometimes.
yeah,
But like in the case of, like you say, Johnny Depp and her and Amber Heard, I think they're, because of the age difference. Also, I think they're, he's more mature and set
yeah,
in his ways, and she's kind of just all over the place, man. I I don't know
yeah.
what
Well,
it's yeah.
mature maybe, but I mean he's definitely mature, but I don't know how mature of a decision is to date and marry a woman that much younger than you, though. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that's a thing in Hollywood. I know you can fall in love with somebody like that. I had a friend that married a girl that's a lot younger, but I don't think it was that big of a gap. She might have been 10 years younger than him or something,
Mhm.
but not that big of a gap. But
Mhm.
there's almost like a 20-year gap between those two. I mean, two
Yeah.
generations, almost two generations is it's kind of a culture shock.
Oh yeah.
That's a hard um, that's two pieces of puzzle that's hard to put together. It just don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, like, she had said something during the trial, like he just wants to sit around and play his guitar with his friends and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's like, see, she can't relate to that because that's something that she missed out somehow,
yeah,
doing something
yeah.
simple as that.
Well, when you get older too, he was like in his at that point in time, he's late 40s,
Mhm.
early. Well, no, he might have been in his early 50s. I mean, you know how we are. You don't feel like going out and you don't feel like going out and clubbing. She's a
Mhm.
20-something-year-old girl who likes to do party drugs and she likes to go out. And as far as I could tell, he just let her go out for the most part, but she was evidently screwing everybody in town in the same process. So,
Yeah. I think what got them together ultimately was, I think, doing drugs. I think cocaine or something seems to
hmm
be
yeah,
in there somehow. I don't know. I think, like, maybe he was doing okay. He was married, and then he kind of met her and kind of fell off the
yeah,
wagon, so to speak, and just wanted to have fun with this girl, and she was
yeah,
basically everything he did not need at that
yeah.
time, or something. And maybe they were happy at one point or something, but I mean, they're a train wreck now, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, it essentially broke him away from that Vanessa Paradis, his wife at the time,
Hmm.
the mother of his children, and
Hmm.
they didn't have a bad relationship necessarily. At least she doesn't speak of it being bad, and but that's what kind of broke
Yeah.
them apart. He divorced her for Amber, and
Yeah.
and it's
Uh,
just the thing is, if it is truthful, if it's what she said is true, which it's not but if it is true, then how she's basically painting the picture like he was beating her from the day one, basically,
hmm.
abusing her from the beginning. And
Hmm.
if why marry somebody like that? Why do you go ahead and marry? She kept saying, "Oh, I was so in love. I was so in love." I know people do that. I mean, people are. I mean, I'm not saying there's real wife beaters out there, and there's women who stay
Hmm.
with them. But usually it's because they have no way out. You see that a
Yeah.
lot in like the South here. You see that in Eastern Kentucky a lot. You see people in situations that that she can't. If she leaves that guy, she's going to be on the street and destitute. She's not going
Yeah.
to have anything. Or other urban situations where any anybody that's in a bad situation that can't leave it. But she wasn't in that situation.
Hmm.
She had some money. She was working, as an actress at the time. She had a way
And
out. She had a support system. She didn't have to
yeah.
stay. If she was being beat like that, she didn't have to stay in that situation.
Well, and she had a prenup. She had a really prenuptial agreement. So, I mean, if
Yeah.
that was the case, I mean, she could have just divorced him and settled, and she would have made out, so to speak, like a bandit.
Yeah.
Or I don't know the details of that prenup agreement, but like you said, I mean, she had nothing to lose really. If she
Well,
had
there
all this
wasn't
stuff,
one.
she could. Oh, there wasn't a prenup.
No, there might have been something put in there, but there was at the time of their wedding, there was no prenuptial agreement. He did something afterwards,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's lawfully you can't have an actual. I think by the law, you can't actually put a full prenuptial agreement in after. I mean, both parties might have to agree, but there never was a prenuptial agreement.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So,
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I thought I knew something about that because, like you said, it's like if that was true, it's like why didn't she just get out? But maybe
yeah.
there is things I didn't know. I could have swore they had that, but
Well,
because she
she didn't file for divorce till like a couple months after. She filed for divorce a couple months after, and after she found out that he lost all his money. He lost like $650 million. Like he got swindled out of like $650 million from his business manager or money manager guy,
yeah.
and or been mismanaged or whatever. And I don't know all the details to that situation, but he she basically, after she found out he didn't have anything, she left him. I think that's why she didn't. I think at the time, I don't think she probably could ask for much more than 6 million or 7 million, whatever she's asking for, which she claimed that it was going to go all to charity, but none of it actually went to charity.
Yeah.
If you watch the
Yeah.
trial, they grilled her on it. She's like, kept saying, I pledged it. He said, well, pledge and donate's not the same thing. She's like, that's how I interpret it. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. They never got the money.
Yeah.
They only got the $250,000 or the 500,000 or whatever that Elon donated in your behalf.
Oh
You know,
yeah. 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 I knew about that.
and
Yeah, that's just crazy, man. I mean,
no, I take
see,
that back. They got $250,000 from her originally, but that was the payment that Johnny Depp had sent in her name that she got pissed off about.
mm,
So she probably intended on keeping the money to begin with, which is fine. I mean,
oh
she was entitled to something in a divorce,
yeah,
but the thing
yeah,
was is she broke the non disclosure agreement and sued him, and then
mhm,
started coming out with all these allegations that she just kept her fucking mouth shut. She'd still have a career, and
yeah,
she's ruined her own career, and she
oh
ruined
yeah,
Johnny's career too to some degree. I think this trial's made him look good. It's been good for him, and that's the only thing he really cares about, winning the court of public opinion, not so much winning this court case, which I think he'll
yeah.
probably win it too. But if he don't, it
I
don't
just
make any
wonder, like,
difference.
I just wonder, at the end of the day, it's like they're doing this for public opinion. There's no criminal thing involved,
Yeah,
um, and at the end of the day, like, how much is this going to cost? After all the lawyers' fees and stuff like that. It's like it's a big circus now, and I just
yeah,
wonder. I mean, he'll never
because
get that Disney money again, probably not.
no,
Like he had. Which I mean, if they try to remake, say, Pirates of the Caribbean without him,
yeah.
or they put somebody else in the role of him, that would be just ridiculous. Which I don't put that
Well,
past Hollywood nowadays to do
I
that.
mean, I thought there was proposals to replace him with a woman as the
Yeah,
lead,
that's what I heard. Yeah, I thought
and
that would
that'd
be.
be right up Disney's alley right now because that's what they're doing that
Mhm,
everywhere. But yeah, it's just a crazy. Everything's crazy
situation.
with him. He's just a lot. Yeah,
I mean, he was one of the top,
yeah,
you know, paid stars, ever. Him and like Robert Downey Jr. and people like that. They're like the top star, Tom Cruise and stuff. So I wonder
yeah.
how he's fell down the notches a little bit on that and stuff. Because he used to be he was set. He could probably have
Well,
retired. You know,
oh yeah. I mean, before he lost all that money,
he lost all that money and
yeah.
stuff like that. But he's just
I don't know. I don't know if he see that happened to Nick Cage too. He lost all of his
mm,
money too. That's why you see him in all these nickel and dime movies out there. He's trying to make his money back, and trying to get
Yeah.
back
Just
to the A list and make real money.
pay
And
those taxes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
what I don't understand, I don't know anything about that. He sued them and won, I think, against his money managerial team, I think. But I don't know if he got any money back per se. But I don't know
Mhm.
if it was recoverable. But I think he won that trial. But and I don't know the details of any of that. But the thing
Yeah, I don't
is
either.
you have all that money. The money managers, like, I think the money manager he was interviewed in this. He was had a deposition in the trial, and he just act like his spending was egregious and stuff. And they were, he was spending a lot. He had a lot of property, and it takes a lot of money to upkeep property, especially your own private island and stuff. And he was spending a lot of money, but it's a job of that money manager to step in and say, "Hey, you can't afford this. You're gonna go broke." But I think he had
Yeah.
a lot of money, and I think they used that as a way to squander it away from him. Essentially, I think they used
Mhm.
that, like, they hid money from him and say, "Oh, well, he's spending this, on
Yeah.
upkeep on his property." But
Yeah.
he did want have a lot of property, a lot of houses and stuff. And you got to think, how much it is. You own a house, you know how much upkeep a house is and what you got to
Yeah.
pay in taxes and
Yeah.
how you can be a money manager and let somebody fall behind on taxes. I don't understand. I know you had to pay out a lot of taxes, but you got a lot of money to pay those taxes with.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah. It
all
couldn't
these
be that
Hollywood
way.
you got all these Hollywood celebrities up here. They're crying about raising taxes or something on the rich or something. Hell, half of you don't pay them anyways. You
Yeah.
know, because
Just
half of them
go
are doing
without.
exactly what he done. They just don't pay them.
Yeah. That's what I wouldn't have done that. If I was in his position and had his money, I wouldn't have so many things going on that I couldn't, take care of or be around. I wouldn't
Yeah.
own an island that I only get to go to 1 week of the year or something, for example. I just wouldn't have
Yeah.
that. It just would be a waste of money. And, so no, it,
The way
it's,
they talked about though, he went to it all the time.
um,
I think he might still own it. I don't think he ever lost that. I think that's the one thing he made sure he kept was the island.
mm,
Because
yeah,
they ended up whatever got worked out. He worked out, and they had his taxes got paid in full, and I don't know what he recovered and all that stuff. It's kind of weird talking about celebrity money. People earning money that not necessarily deserved in terms of hard
yeah,
work. But I mean, they do work hard, but you know,
yeah. But
it's kind
it's
of
funny though for, somebody like me or you that are not Hollywood rich,
hmm
but we would think like, well, if we had that money, we wouldn't do this or we wouldn't do
yeah.
that. That's for sure, because we'd be more common sense about it, and not be
Well,
frugal, but be a little more sensible about
but
it.
but
Better
but
investments.
but how would your mentality be if you got rich whenever you're a teenager to early 20s, and then you were just super rich, and you would have probably you'd be in his shoes. He just didn't
Hmm.
have any real responsibility. He didn't really live a real life before he got
Hmm.
famous. I mean, he had a couple years on some people, but he was famous when he was pretty much in his young early 20s, late teens,
Hmm.
early 20s. So he didn't really have any time to
Childhood.
learn. Like we can
Yeah.
say that now. If like, hey, if I want $100 million, we know how to be responsible with it, and we know we need to
Yeah.
make it last. We know you want to retire completely and make it last the rest of your life. You know how it needs to be invested and how to be safe with it. I mean, you would, of course, there'd be mad money involved in it. There was things you'd always wanted. You could buy all of a sudden. You'd buy stuff, but other than that, I would go to a money manager and get somebody respected and trustworthy, and you have a good lawyer and make sure the
Hmm.
money is handled correctly and
Yeah.
invested correctly and
Yeah.
make money for you instead of just completely losing money all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. But I
Yeah.
have that knowledge from growing up just normally and not
Hmm.
really making tons of money, not having tons of money, just being normal, and
Hmm.
you just have that, you learn those lessons, and it makes you, you know, more prepared
Yeah.
for it. But when you get rich when you're young, you're going to be more irresponsible, and that's kind of how he was.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's
Mm,
exactly it. He just had a chance to look back, stand back from it all, and be like,
yeah,
it's overwhelming. And then you start mixing drugs and doing all kinds of lifestyle changes, and you don't even think about that. You just live this life of luxury, and but
yeah.
I don't know. I just,
I mean, he had a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. He had a lot of money, over a $500 million. And to lose all that, that's to be devastating.
oh yeah, to
Because
have
he,
it and then lose it.
because didn't he owned a house down in your area of the country, didn't he? Didn't he have a ranch down in that area
Yeah,
of
I thought he
Kentucky?
bought his. I thought he bought his mom a horse ranch or something. I don't know if it was in Owen. Was it Owensboro or Lexington? It may have
It,
been in that area somewhere.
yeah, I guess it's down somewhere around there, Elizabethtown, your area,
Oh,
and
really?
everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, actually, I don't know if it's in Elizabethtown. This probably makes more sense to be in Owensboro, where he's from, but
I
I
think
don't know
it's.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it's in Elizabethtown.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. But that makes sense. I mean, what was it the other day? What was it? Katy Perry is supposedly living in Kentucky somewhere.
hmm,
I wonder where she's living in Kentucky. Well, that makes sense. I could do that. Disappear. After living such a high profile life in California, and then imagine coming here and going to a very
yeah.
small city in Kentucky and just being unassuming. You could do that.
That's yeah. William Shatner lives outside Lexington.
Hmm.
He has a horse farm outside Lexington. I don't know if he don't live there. I don't think all the time, but I think he lives there quite a bit though, as far as I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Steve Zahn is in
Hmm.
Lexington too.
I was thinking of Steve Zahn exactly. I
Yeah.
never, when I lived in Lexington, I never did cross paths with him, but I know some people that would run into him occasionally in the bars downtown Lexington, and he married some kind of woman involved in the horse industry somewhere. I don't know if she's a rich woman. I don't know if he married up in life and married a rich woman. So if you ever notice, he hasn't really done much since back in
Mm.
the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. He was in something recent that I saw him in,
Yeah,
and he played like the dad or something. It wasn't a big role, but yeah. But yeah, he must
yeah.
have. Maybe the wife was from a family of horse breeders or something. That's
Yeah.
got money and.
I don't know the full story. That's just what I was told back in the day. But I would hear stories of him being spotted around Lexington every now and then. And
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting. It's a place to disappear to, especially these days. We got a lot of, we sold part of our, we've been trying to sell part of our property anyway, that we haven't been using for a long time. And we
Mhm.
sold part of it. We sold, people wanting to move but the people we sold it to they're not Californian or from New York or anything.
Yeah,
But they are. But I figured that's the kind of people that are looking for property in these areas.
yeah. They want something quote unquote simpler, quieter
No,
and stuff. But
yeah,
yeah.
I heard a story today. Where was it? I don't know if this people moving. What country was it? It's not Spain, but there's evidently like wherever this I can't it's not Puerto Rico. I apologize, I can't remember, but I heard this story earlier, and evidently the country, there's a lot of people from California moving to this country. They're just flooding out. There's so many people. It used to be a thing where if you moved there and you paid over $500,000 for a home, you got like automatic citizenship or something like that. You didn't have
Mm.
to go through a legal process, and I can't remember what country it is, but
Well, there was a.
basically they had so many people flooding in there from California that they had to stop that. They had to.
Huh. Well, I heard there was somewhere in Italy that they were trying to get people to come and populate it because it was they needed. I don't know. It was like kind of a semi-historic place, and they're going to pay people to come there. And I've seen that somewhere in Italy, and there was some other country where they were doing that. They wanted
Yeah.
people to come and live there. So I don't know what the
Yeah.
story is with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the housing market and stuff is so expensive anymore. I think people are like moving, from bigger states like California to somewhere like Kentucky and paying less, with stuff and getting stuff cheaper and stuff. But
Yeah. It'll just drive up prices for us, all these people
mhm,
coming in. It's like
yeah,
there's tons of Californians goes to Texas, and all the Texans, the people that live there, a lot of them are original Texans, but they always say we don't want them to bring their politics to Texas.
yeah, uh, yeah. It's
So
crazy. California is insane right now.
yeah, what you want to kind of we're getting towards the end of 2 hours, so it went by that quick tonight. So
Mhm.
you want to kind of do a little bit of what you got this week on DVD and
Oh
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
sure, yeah.
What did you have any of those that I give you? Because I wasn't sure if you had those. I
Oh no. I want to tell you thanks, man. I did I filmed a video today, an unboxing video, and I showed, did everything and stuff. But yeah, I really
yeah,
appreciate that, man. I wasn't
yeah,
expecting that. I know you said something about Independence Day and then the Rudy Ray Moore box, and that's all
yeah,
I was expecting. But yeah,
yeah,
I got that box. I'm looking at it now. It's really cool. Um,
yeah,
I'm gonna try to get Disco Godfather, and then I'll have all of them, and I can put them
yeah.
in there and stuff because that's a pretty cool box.
It's a nice
Um,
box. I don't think I got charged for that. They sent it with my Rudy Ray Moore set, like extra, and I couldn't find it on the receipt where I'd paid for it. So I was like, "Yep, I'll just pass it along." Somebody that because I know you have some of them, and
hmm
it's a nice little box to have.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have those same vinegar ones. But yeah, that's really cool. And then the 4K
Yeah,
Independence Day, and then the new one. I haven't seen the new one yet.
yeah,
Uh, and Little Monsters and the Pauly Shore movie. I didn't have those either. Um,
yeah. I don't know if it's the greatest Polly Shore movie, but I had it. I had both of them. I don't know why I had extra copies of both of them. Seemed like I got them, and there's another case of not paying for them. I got them like through. They may have got lost in the mail through Amazon, and then they replaced them, and then they came. They showed up like a month later or something. But both
yeah,
of them,
that's
I
happened.
had extra copies of them, and I'd boxed them up with that Independence Day, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna send them all to him. I'd rather
Okay.
pass them on than try
Yeah.
to because they're not necessarily great movies individually to give away,
Mhm.
give away on your channel. So I was like, well, I'll just hold on to them, and
Yeah.
that's a
Well,
you don't have.
the thing with Little Monsters was I was going to pick that up. It was at Walmart, and it was there like I went there one Tuesday and they had it, and for some reason I didn't get it. I came back the next Tuesday, saw it again, and then by the third Tuesday I came like I'm gonna pick that Little Monsters up and
Yeah,
everything, and then they didn't have it, and then they never did get they didn't replenish anything and didn't get any more in, and
yeah,
um, and then I thought about ordering it online and I just didn't do it. So, um,
yeah,
but yeah, so that's cool, man. I appreciate that because I think I have about three or four of those Vestron ones with the
yeah,
slip case and stuff. That's pretty cool. And then the Polish movie, I had never seen that. I remember it, but I never did go see it, or I I just never seen it before. But yeah,
yeah,
that case looks kind of like a Blockbuster uh,
yeah,
VHS tape slip
yeah,
cover. That's pretty cool. So yeah, but no, man, I
yeah.
appreciate that. That was really cool. But yeah, I
Yeah,
did a
well,
video
I
and
appreciate the ones you sent me. I guess I told you sent me some stuff with your stickers that one time. You sent me like one or two
oh yeah,
movies.
yeah,
So yeah, I appreciate
yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, I got, I'm gonna go through some of my movies because I think I've upgraded to a couple of things for like 4K, and I've upgraded. So I'll go through some of them and see if you want any of them, and I'll send them out your way because I can either if I want to get rid of them, I mean I have to sell them say on eBay or
Yeah.
basically give them away to like a pawn shop or something, when you try to sell them Facebook or something. Um, but there's not much value in them that way anymore. They don't want to give you fair
Yeah.
price. So
Yeah.
it's almost worth it just to give it to somebody, a good friend or something, pass it along. And
Yeah.
so I'll
Well,
go through some
if
stuff and
I other than giving it, if I'd either give it away or you can't. The problem is you can't take them and sell them, or you just lose your ass on it.
yeah.
You
Well, I
know.
remember in the day, like we had an FYE at our mall, and
Mm-hmm.
you could sell stuff. You could sell a
Mm-hmm.
CD back to them, and they would give you fair price at first, and then towards the end, before they went out, they were only going to give you like $1 or something for a
Yeah.
Blu-ray that you paid $20 for like 6 months ago, and now they're only going to
Yeah.
give you $1 for it or something. So it's almost not worth even selling them, really. I mean,
That
you know.
that's how half price books is. They don't give you nothing for.
hmm
They
Yeah, I
do.
got. Well, that's when I went down to
Yeah.
Lexington and I got like 50 laser discs down there, and I think I only got like $20, but they
Yeah.
were just stuff that they were either just common titles or they were just stuff that nobody really
Yeah.
don't want. But I got $2 out of it. But
There was a. I don't know if you got some from that influx of the one on Nicholasville Road got a bunch of discs from Transylvania University. Like they emptied out their Laserdisc collection from their library or their media library they had, and
mm-hmm.
a bunch of them came from Transylvania University
Oh wow, yeah,
because they used to, I guess, would rent them out or something, or you could check one out at the
mm-hmm.
library, and they that's where they came from. So I picked up a few that from there. That might be. But that's particular store, they actually get Laserdisc fairly regularly. It seems like
Yeah,
The one in Hamburg Pavilion, not so much. They never hardly have anything, and if they have it, it's junky.
yeah. Is that the one that's like close to the shoe store and it's in like a little strip area?
Yes,
Um,
yeah,
I always get Hamburg and all that stuff mixed when I'm trying to think about all that. But yeah, that's the one. And they also got a really cool selection of like movie books. Like I went like through the books and stuff, and they were like teaching materials. Like I
yeah,
found one on cinematography, and this is like something they teach in class. This isn't
yeah,
like a regular reference book, and it was pretty interesting. But
yeah.
but yeah, they probably came from somewhere like that, I would say. Uh,
But I picked this up, or I think I got it from through Amazon. But
oh, okay, the 4K.
yes, Escape from New York.
Yeah,
It looks really good. I haven't watched the special features on here yet, but the
mhm.
restoration looks really nice. It looked really good in 4K.
Yeah, I got that. I got the Scream Factory edition of that. Let me see here. Where did I put my new
That's
stuff at?
that's who released this one as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I picked up a few things. I swore last month I was going to like not buy any. I was going to go like 30 days and just take a break from buying stuff. But every time I
yeah.
do that, just I get bombarded with deals, and it's so hard to say no to it.
Too much comes
But
up.
yeah. Um,
I
but
picked this one up as well.
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Lady
Lady
Vanishes.
Vanishes, and
Yeah,
yeah, I like those 30s Hitchcocks. Those are really good.
yeah.
The 39 Steps and Lady Vanishes. Those are really good.
Here's another one I picked up, and I think both of those were like the normal kind of like $20 price. It wasn't like up in the $27 range. But this is one I don't know much. I know what I know about it is this is called La Jetée in San Soleil. Uh, this is a Criterion,
Oh, okay.
and La
Yeah.
Jetée is it's actually just a 28-minute movie, and it's not actual motion. It's just like pictures put together to make a movie and tell a story. But the story is essentially the story of the 12 Monkeys story. This is where this is a big inspiration for 12 Monkeys, especially like
Oh,
the end
yeah.
scene,
Yeah.
and that's where that's where the inspiration for it came out in the '60s, I believe. But that was a big inspiration for that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It's
a science fiction.
yeah, yeah. It's like an early science fiction, like kind of a avant-garde science fiction. But it
Hmm.
I was just interested in it. I didn't know that until I watched the 12 Monkeys. Actually, I didn't. That's in my other room, but I got 12 Monkeys. I got it a while back and just now got around to watching it. It was a very
That's
nice looking
funny.
transfer.
Yeah, that's funny that the 4K came out because I got the regular edition of 12 Monkeys from Arrow, the regular edition of it. That's funny because I don't know. That's happened to me a few times where I get that
Yeah,
version and then like really the next week or something they announce something like the 4K version or something. So it's like,
yeah.
but yeah, I haven't showed that to anybody yet, but I got that recently. And I also got the Slaughterhouse Five Arrow edition
I'd like to
of
get
it.
that. That'd be cool.
Actually, the transfer is really cool looking, man. It's really nice.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, boy meets girl.
yeah,
Yeah,
Cagney, O'Brien.
yeah,
I'll check that. I haven't seen that before. I'll have to be checking that out. I actually
yeah. I
got
don't
more
think I've
than
seen it either.
I got quite a bit of stuff this week actually, but it's just mostly my buying anymore. It's just for the most part, it's just buying older stuff. That's what I've been trying to concentrate on. Not everything, obviously. I got this week, but
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
Batman
Yeah, I need to get that. Is
and
that the Steel
yeah.
4K?
Somehow I slid in there and pre-ordered it. Got
Hmm.
lucky on the got it pre-ordered, so I don't. That's weird. That's the only
Yeah.
version I bought. There were some people out there buying like every version of it. It's like I'm like it's not that great of a movie. It's a really good movie.
No.
It's not that great of a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to figure out if I want to get the 4K, just get the regular edition of that.
Yeah. Um. Oh. While we're kind of on that stuff, I did. I did go ahead and pick up the second edition of that.
Okay.
I've only watched the Saboteur on here so far. I wanted to see
Mm-hmm.
what it looked like. It's black and white. It looked pretty good. I That's the only thing, sometimes black and whites look incredible on 4K and sometimes I'm like was it really worth the money?
Yeah, you don't
That's a
see much
problem.
difference.
Yeah, my problem with them doing so many black and whites that I just don't think
Mhm.
that's the best medium for them to work with. I think some of those Technicolor movies and up in the movies in the '70s and '80s, it really brings out that kind of. I didn't like a lot of that film stock they were using in the '70s and '80s compared to like the earlier processes, but
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
it really makes those movies. See, that's the thing. Like when you watch Vanishing Point, especially Vanishing Point, not so much Two Lane Highway, but the Vanishing Point really feels like a '70s movie. The cinematography looks like the '70s. The way the film stock looks '70s. It's just
Hmm.
got that grayer tone to the film stock. I don't know if you know what I mean, but
Yeah,
it's got
yeah.
like a grayer tint to it or something. It's not as vibrant.
Yeah, it's something you can tell. You can't describe it exactly, but you know it when you see it and everything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's see what. Oh yeah, I did pick this up as well. This is actually something that came in by surprise. I forgot I'd pre-ordered it, but from Amazon. But it's the Film Noir Part Six,
Oh,
Kino
okay.
Kino Lorber.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
did.
haven't got any of those yet. I just have one of the indicator sets, and I recently just finally got through all the movies. I had it for a year, but it had 6 movies on it, and I finally got around to finishing. I watched
What's
all the
this?
supplements and everything. Oh yeah, The
The
Accused.
Accused. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a film noir as well. It's supposed to be
Oh, okay.
interesting. It kind of sounded interesting. I picked
Hmm.
this up. I hope I don't have it. I didn't think I had this, but this is just a Hammer collection. And I didn't feel like I had
Oh
those
yeah.
movies. I have a bunch of
Hmm.
stuff. I don't know if I have these movies or not, but it has these movies on there, like the snorkel, and
Yeah.
it
Some
had
of those are in that big Mill Creek Hammer box that came out last year or the year before.
yeah.
The
Well, I
one with
probably
the
have it
H
then.
on it.
I probably have it then.
Well, I think there's a couple on that's not on there though, because I wanted to buy that for a certain movie, and
Yeah.
I ended up not getting that particular set. But
I
yeah, a lot of them
forget.
are on that other set.
This is like the. This isn't like the first. There's like 5 or 6 volumes of this, I believe. So, but that's about it. I did pick this up too. I don't know if you have heard of that. That's just a documentary.
Oh no, I haven't heard
2,000
of that.
Mules. It's Dinesh D'Souza. It's about the. It's just about the ballot harvesting stuff during election time. So if it,
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched it yet. It's, but
Yeah.
I won't get into that tonight. But I picked it up on it. Most people were streaming it, and like the only way you could watch it was to stream it, and they were wanting like $30 to stream the damn thing. I was like, I'm not going to stream it for $30. But I did find they did send out a link for the DVD, and I was like, well, I'll pay $20 for the DVD because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always want a
At least you'll
physical
have.
copy.
Yeah.
It's like books. When I prefer to buy an actual book so I can always have it because you never know when they'll decide to erase a bunch of stuff off of Kindle or something. I do buy Kindle every now and then, but I do
Yeah.
have that format. But
Yeah. I think when I read, I like the pages. I don't know.
yeah,
I call me old fashioned, but I guess that's what I like. But.
yeah,
But yeah, I got a few things from Amazon this week. Now this was something I was listening. I knew about this movie already, but I was listening to this other YouTuber. His name's Full Idealistic Crusader.
hmm
He's pretty cool. His name's Spencer, and he's really cool. He knows a lot of stuff. But anyways, I picked up the Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm.
yeah,
This was one of the two movies filmed in Cinerama. The other one was How the West Was Won,
yeah.
and this one's more of a fantasy, more family oriented one. But it's loaded with special stuff. It's got a really cool documentary about Cinerama, and it's got a documentary about how they restored this movie because they thought back in the '90s they would never be able to restore this movie and stuff. So they were able to do it, and
Thought the
it's shown in two different formats. Also, they got the letterboxed and then the something called Smile Box, which is more of a Cinerama shape. Um, but yeah, I figured I'd get it now while it's on sale before it goes. But but for a Warner Archive release, it's loaded with
yeah.
extras and stuff.
What's the?
Uh,
I know the Brothers Grimm part. What's the first? The Wonderful World of Brothers Grimm.
yeah, yeah. I think Amazon has it for
Is
like 16 or something.
now is that is is that the inspiration for the Brothers Grimm? Terry
Yeah,
Gilliam.
it's a George Powell movie, and it's based on the fairy tales. The what do you call it? Yeah, it's based on the old stories. Uh, was it Herman Gerstener? Yeah, it's based on that book. But anyways, it's got a lot of cool stuff. So
Every
it's kind of
time
a
you
combination.
every time you show stuff, I end up spending money.
I know, man. It's hard. It's hard. It's weird, man. It's like it's the same thing. Like I saw his episode, and I was kind of on the fence about it, and then he kind of convinced me because it was like, man, I would love to see those documentaries, and I love the restoration process. What goes into it. Um, I just got these yesterday. I got these about a week ahead of the street date, but I had pre-ordered these from Kino. I got the 4K of A Fistful of Dollars, the new
Awesome.
yeah, it's got the new shot by shot color grading. They changed it away from that ugly yellow tint that they
Yeah.
had on the other ones. Um, it's basically got the same special features as the other previous release, and everything. And then this one also came out for a few dollars more, and it's got different artwork. This is new artwork. Um,
It's
and
pretty
same
cool.
thing, they went through it and cleaned it up like it's supposed to be. Um, and the way they did the good, the bad, and the ugly, it turned out really good. That they took out that yellow and it
Yeah.
just looks great now. Um, so I got those. Um,
I need to buy those. I guess. I guess they're only going to be. I was waiting. I was waiting for them so I could hopefully get them in a box set to put them together.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if
I
they're going
remember
to
you
do
saying
that or
that.
not. I don't know if it's going to
I,
happen or not.
I don't know. I could see that happen. You know, they put them all together because they did something like that before, and they put "Duck You Sucker" or something with it. Um, but then I
Yeah,
also picked up. I got this used, the 4K of Unforgiven.
that's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's got the regular Blu-ray in there also.
that's pretty
And then
cool.
the last thing I got is a movie. This was directed by William Friedkin, who did The Exorcist and stuff. It's
Yeah,
called Killer Joe. It's got Matthew McConaughey, uh, Emil Hirsch. It
I feel
came out in 2012. It's not new,
I feel
but
like
I
I've
had
seen that. I believe I've seen that. I have
yeah
that actually. I don't. It's familiar. It's very familiar. What
yeah.
is it a western?
No, it's kind of like a crime story. I think it's placed in
Okay.
like Texas. Yeah, it takes place in Dallas,
Okay.
Texas,
That's I couldn't.
and it has something to do with like the mob or I think Matthew McConaughey's like a hitman or something.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer and it looked really good, and I thought, well, if William Friedkin's behind it, it's got to
Yeah.
be probably pretty decent.
Yeah.
Um, I think I was watching like him lecturing at some school or something, and then right under it there was a trailer, and I started watching. I was like, "Oh wow, I never heard of this," you know.
Nice.
So so I think I found it on eBay for like $5,
Yeah.
free shipping. So
That's
yeah,
pretty good.
that's pretty much what I got this week, and then the stuff that you sent
Yeah.
yesterday. I got that yesterday.
That came quick because it came like in literally a day.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're
yeah.
not
The
far apart
UPS
though, so
No, yeah, the UPS man was walking towards the door and he had all this stuff because my wife ordered some stuff and I didn't know it did. And so he had this whole big handful of stuff. And I was like, what in the world? Then the biggest box was, you know, your package. So I was like, oh, wow. I was like, wonder what's in there. So,
yeah. I was
but yeah,
texting you.
I was going to say, man, you wrapped it really good. I was going to say if people like Amazon would wrap stuff like you wrap stuff, nobody would ever get damaged stuff.
Well, that was the UPS girl that did that because
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because I just went in there and paid for a box and everything. I was close to the UPS store um, instead of the postal service, and so I just went in there and like I set them, I set them down on the scale, and she set them to the side. I didn't even see the box she put them in. She hadn't even boxed them before I left, so she boxed it after I left. So they must have
Yeah.
did a good job then. That's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They did a good job. Always forget about UPS sometimes when I have to send something. I go up there a lot to like return stuff to Amazon because you can just bring it up there
Yeah.
and they'll wrap it and send it back for you and stuff. So it's like,
We got the craziest thing here. We have a Kohl's,
oh,
store,
yeah. Yeah,
and
we do too.
the Kohl's has does yours have one in it? Has an
Yeah.
Amazon return area. You just
Uh-huh.
take the
Yeah.
item in there and they return.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm closer to like we have a UP store and I'm
yeah,
closer to that. And, but yeah, either one. Yeah, they just
yeah,
take it and they send it all back. I mean, it makes it
yeah,
very easy for us. But
yeah. I think that's the closest place I can send it to. Who does it directly like that? So, but
yeah.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, like I didn't get really a ton of stuff this week. I got some toys and stuff. Some things I had pre-ordered came in all at once, and
Yeah,
so
I've been checking Walmart for like turtle stuff. I've been checking for GI Joe. Um, even Transformers have been semi bare. Like they don't
hmm
really have much. They got in some new like Masters of the Universe stuff, just a little
yeah,
bit, but it's like their toy aisle is always it always is in the middle of being restocked or something. It's never like completely full like it's supposed to be. It's just I don't know. I mean, it
yeah.
sucks to be a toy fan. You know, unless you order it online. I mean, you know, it's.
Yeah, I've pretty much just limited my collecting to Motu and Transformers because I quit trying to find those GI Joes because you can't find the classifieds in stores at all. You got to pre-order everything, and I'm just not really, I do pre-order some of the Transformers, but I don't have enough money to be buying all this different stuff constantly, buying all these toys. So I just kind of
Yeah.
buy the Transformers when I can buy 'em, when I buy them,
Hmm.
and really it's not that I can't actually afford them. I just don't, it's just the way everything's going. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I'm trying to be more cautious with my money, so
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just, as soon as I get money, because I'm like you, where I'm on Social Security, so you got to kind of manage your money for a whole month, and
Mm-hmm.
so I guess
Yeah,
you're
you
on
got to
Social
be kind of
Security. I'm
smart.
sorry, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you told me
Oh
that.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I've been on for about 5 years. Yeah. You're right. Well, you know how it is. It's limited,
yeah,
and you really do. You got to kind of look for deals and stuff, and that's why I don't
yeah.
mind buying something used on
No,
from eBay or
eBay.
even
Yeah.
Amazon. Even if
Well,
it's
I never have a problem doing that in any
anywhere.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can find
Yeah.
good deals. I haven't been buying much for eBay here lately. I need to get back into it. I bought a ton of laser discs at one time that way,
Hmm. Yeah.
but
A lot of people are down on eBay. A lot of times is getting ripped off and stuff, which I guess there's it's pros and cons, but I've never really had a bad deal. I mean, I've had a couple of sellers that were pretty kind of jacked up stuff, just things up,
yeah.
and had to get money back. But for the most part, I have really good experiences and
The only
stuff
thing I
like
got
that.
kind of had on was some laser discs. Once I bought like a lot of like just like a little lot sale of laser discs. I think it's only like 20 to 25 bucks. It wasn't very much, and it was just I forget it may have been 20 discs, and part of them were all right, but part of them weren't as advertised. They were supposedly like widescreen versions of stuff, and and they weren't widescreen. And what had happened, what it was, is they all had like half price book stickers on them after I got them. So they went and paid like
Mhm.
a buck for or less, $1 or less for these things, and they turned around and sold them to me. But just a bunch of junk, pretty much. And some of the discs
Uh,
were rough, and I didn't try to get my money back because some of the stuff was good, and it was like I was saying 20 to 25 bucks, so it wasn't a hard hit. So I was like, screw it.
yeah,
No,
that's the thing with buy a lot sometimes because they're sometimes you say a lot of 20 discs and 10 of them
yeah,
you're like really want or really one's rare and like
yeah,
9 of them are cool and then the other
yeah,
10 are just like junk or something. But
yeah,
that's kind of what happens.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I have a pre-order. I pre-ordered a movie from Indicator, but it doesn't come out till September. But I thought I'd go ahead and pre-order it because I know it's going to sell out and everything. It's a Burt Lancaster movie called The Swimmer, and it's out on some other special other late boutiques. But it's like a deluxe edition. It's got like a book and all kinds
Yeah,
of stuff, and it was on sale if you pre-ordered it now. So I just had and said, I'll
yeah.
pre-order it that way.
That's cool. Not
But yeah,
surprised.
I normally don't do that. You know,
No,
and
I
then
don't have any
the other,
problem with pre-ordering at all. I don't want to pre-order GI Joes because, for one, it's
mm,
hard to go to like as soon as they announce them. If you try to go get them on Target.com, you can't never get through. It's just a I don't understand why some people are so crazed over GI Joes. All that
I
stuff.
mean, I like GI Joe. In fact, I
Yeah,
love GI Joe, but I'm not
yeah,
going to go crazy like that and pay
yeah,
those
yeah,
prices and go through
yeah,
all the changes with those people. So it's
yeah,
just like if I mean, I think I did come across a Lady J, one of the
yeah.
big ones. Like for some reason,
The
Walmart had it,
classified. Yeah, yeah,
classified, yeah, and I was like, okay, I
yeah,
grabbed it. But other than that, I haven't seen nothing in my
yeah.
Walmart. If you go to Target, they have a good selection of like Lego sets, new Lego
Yeah.
sets and stuff, but don't have anything else really. They just don't
I've been
have
finding
anything.
some Transformers. Our problem, Mike, is Kentucky's a bad area for toys because evidently the way it works, I found out through another toy guy. He had he had some guests on, and one of those guests was from he would actually worked for Hasbro. He was like a,
Mm.
I think he was like a, I think he was an engineer. So he was like an actual one of the guys that actually designed toy designer is what he was. He was a toy designer, but he got the but being a toy designer, he got allowed to work with the marketing people because sometimes they'd have them do presentations because the guys that actually engineered the toys knew more about them than the people trying to sell them. So he got to do that. So he knew a lot about the business, and he said basically how it works is they come in from China to the West Coast, and you would think, well, the distributors throughout the country would get equal shares of them, but it's not how it works. They just basically hit they hit the fulfillment warehouses in California, and they just start sending them out, so they trickle down. So the West Coast end of things, they get a heavier dose of stuff, and so by the time they hit the big East Coast cities, they don't nothing comes to the
Mm.
Kentucky area, basically.
Yeah.
It takes a long time
Yeah.
for us to get anything. So it all trickles down, and by the time our stores want stuff, there's nothing left to get, or they get very few of anything.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
that
kind of
that sounds about right, man. Because, I mean, even some of those figures, like you would see for a while, and I would see, and they would be all the same figures, and they
mm,
would be like a bunch of Cobra officers
mm-hmm,
or Stalker. And I got on some Facebook groups that are GI Joes, and they were people were taking pictures in their city too, and that's how their WalMarts were. They just had
yeah,
nothing but the same
yeah,
thing everywhere. So it's just
yeah,
like yeah, that's a game that I don't know. I can live without it. I can take it or leave it. I'm more of a collector of movies than
yeah,
toys, but I
yeah,
appreciate toys. I
yeah,
really like the art and the designs and
yeah.
the collectability, but at the same
But
time, it's like I don't have that kind of money or space,
yeah,
to
that's the
keep all
problem
those
with me.
things.
I just
Yeah,
that's my problem too with the space, with the movies and everything. I'm running out of
yeah,
space. So, but
yeah.
yeah, it's just with it toys. I just try to stick to like the retail stuff. I don't try to. I don't have any interest in like hot toys and the higher end stuff where you have to pay
Mhm,
like $300-400 for a figure and all this jazz. And it's just
mhm.
I I have a problem a little, not so much with the people necessarily. I just have a problem when it gets up into that range. It's just like, what are you proving at that point? By
Yeah,
buying like, I mean, sure, there's people that are bigger nerds than us, and
yeah. They're trying to.
bigger geeks. They just trying to out geek people by, oh, I spent $500 on this toy, essentially a toy,
Mhm,
but I'm paying, $50 for a transformer sometimes. I can't say anything. It's the same
mhm.
difference, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
but $50 and $500 is
yeah.
a big difference. But see, the other thing is with these some of these toy collectors is they're first on the scene when they put everything out. So instead of them buying like one figure and
Hmm.
moving on, what they do is they buy three or four of them and they keep two and they sell two and mark them way up on eBay or something. And that's what they do. And there's nothing for anybody else. I mean, that might be the rules of the
Yeah.
game, first come, first
Well,
serve, but
yeah.
it's just kind of being an a-hole. If you're a true
Well,
collector and fan, that's just being an a-hole, really.
well, if in my situation, if I see, well, I don't buy multiples anyways, just, but if I see two of something, I'll always leave one because I'm not. Some collectors will buy three because some collectors they want to take one out of the box to display. They want to have one in the box and then have another one. Especially with the
Mhm.
Transformers, some of them want one to display in robot mode and one to display in a car mode, and then have one in
Oh
the
yeah,
box. Some people do that,
yeah,
and they'll spend that
yeah.
kind of money on it. And but the problem is I call them vultures, and these
Hmm.
are people. There's people who hire people that you'll see them in the stores if you hunt. I see it mainly with toys. I don't see it much anymore with movies. I don't know if movies are
Hmm.
kind of gotten passe. I do see some people do it in movies every now and then, but
Mhm.
there's people who hire other people through the internet, I assume, to hunt for toys in stores, and you'll see them. You'll see them scanning. If you ever see somebody scanning stuff with a phone, and they're not making a video like for YouTube, but they're scanning stuff and they're looking at stuff with their phone. They're scanning barcodes to see what's they're
How much?
seeing what's worth the most money, or they're usually
Hmm.
sending pictures back to people and say, "Hey, do I need to buy this?"
Hmm.
But that's what they're doing,
Yeah. Yeah, they're
and
just posting up and just, I mean, yeah, I get that. I mean, I would do the same thing if I really loved the toy and I was displaying stuff, yeah, I would have the one to kind of play with, and,
yeah,
just, and then have the one set up real nice and stuff.
yeah,
But see, the way uh, some of these toy collectors, at least with Joe, they're like the stuff comes out and they want to, do that. They want to put all this stuff away because they think, well, in 30 years, all this is going to be worth mint like the old stuff is and
yeah,
everything. But see, what happened was back in the day, kids didn't do that. They played with
yeah.
their stuff, they lost it, their parents
Mm-hmm.
sold it, and now they're worth lots. But see, this new stuff, I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be worth as much in
No.
20, 30 years because there's so much of it
Yeah.
out there now.
Yeah. People
And
don't understand that.
they,
It's
they don't,
just
yeah, they don't get that because it's like
I
there's,
I just
you
buy it
know,
because I'll admit it. I'll buy it because it's nostalgic. Because when I was a kid, I I had probably more than most kids, but I didn't have oodles and oodles of Transformers and oodles and oodles. I only got so many things for Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that, and I didn't
yeah,
have like 100 figures. So this is stuff that I'm able to afford now. I'm going back and enjoying as an
yeah,
adult. With a lot of people do. But
yeah,
I don't play with them, but I take them out and display them out of the boxes. I just take the
mhm,
Motu out of the boxes and the Transformers because I'm not going to sell them, and I'm not worried about selling them down the road.
yeah,
Just because it's just they're not going to be worth nothing. People don't they don't they're not going to be worth like there'll be some oddities in there. There'll be something that's weird that
mhm,
they don't sell as much of or don't manufacture as much of, but
mhm,
they're
yeah,
not going to be worth like the originals were.
mm-mm,
I
no.
never got into I don't collect movies for that reason. That's why I don't have interest in buying all these crazy like steel books, custom steel books and do it because that shit'll never be worth money.
Yeah, the stuff that
I
comes with
mean,
all this other stuff, and
yeah,
it's, I don't know. I guess that's a
and
niche
people
sub market.
will be like, well, right now like a steel book, oh, it's worth $200 on eBay, because it has a limited run now. It has
Hmm.
it has it's 250 just because they're extorting that money. They're doing it because they know people want it now, so
Yeah,
they're going to get it. It's not really worth
yeah,
that, and it won't be
no.
worth that in 10 years. Whenever
Well, even
there's
even a lot of toys are like that. Even the
yeah,
ones from our childhood and stuff. And you'll
yeah,
see some sellers that will sell them at a fair price to another collector, and not raise the price so high that it's just, they're just
hmm
being totally extravagant about it. Just being ridiculous about it. But yeah, yeah, it's the same thing, man. It's just, I don't know.
yeah,
It is what it is. I just, it's like I'll focus on one thing. I can't be the same kind of collector. I mean, that's why I have so
hmm
many laser discs now, because
yeah,
back in the early mid '90s, laser discs were expensive. I mean, it was 50
yeah,
bucks for a standard
yeah.
Criterion disc back then, and I couldn't get everything I wanted. And
You,
now,
well,
25, 30 years later, you know,
back in the
cheaper.
'90s, like that $50, that's probably like almost paying $75 for something now.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's like
And
I paid $100 for the original Akira on Criterion Laserdisc when it first came out in like '92, and
and
that was pretty crazy. Probably, I probably think,
well,
what, man?
you had to really save your money too. Like if you
Hmm.
were working a
Yeah,
job or something, or we were. you
Yeah.
know, kind of for teenagers and stuff. I didn't work a lot when I was in high school. I did in the summertime, but
Yeah.
you know, when you worked and you know, you didn't get paid very much money. You got, you know, might make 100, you know, $150 max a week. I mean, you couldn't buy much for that, you know.
Mm-mm.
Whenever you
Yeah, and that's
when we were teenagers, I'm not saying when I got it, you know, started working and stuff like that, started making a little
yeah,
more.
yeah,
But
yeah.
even like when you're making $300 a week, making $8 an hour, starting, you know, a job, I mean, that's not, you got to pay bills. You know, if you're living in an
Mhm.
apartment, you know, you really can't afford. You know, it's
Yeah.
expensive. You know.
Yeah, I mean, before I had a job, I did that. I would save up money. I didn't have a big collection of laser discs, but I would save up, and I guess money went further back then or something. I don't
Hmm.
know the value of the dollar, but it's like I could save and get, a couple discs and pre-order them and, stuff like that. And then of course when I got a job, I started making 4.25 an hour back in the,
Hmm.
early 90s. That
Yeah.
was pretty pitiful. Um, but but then it was you had different obligations. You had to pay
Hmm.
car insurance and you had to and
Yeah.
stuff. So I didn't collect as much then,
Yeah.
and then I got back in later when But see, the late '90s, the bottom kind of fell out of Laserdisc because nobody wanted them anymore, and they were cheap, and people were giving them away just about.
Yeah.
And that a lot of smart people got them dirt cheap
Yeah.
and held on to them and stuff. But yeah, I've kind of made up for the stuff I wanted back when I was like 14. I
Yeah.
was able to get them now and stuff and have multiple Laserdisc players now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So so I don't know. I think it's some of it's like living your childhood or your teen years and
Yeah.
like people that are collecting all these toys and stuff and they
Yeah.
just want to get the stuff they never had before and
Yeah.
I get that, but I don't know. There's just some people that are just kind of hogs about it. They just want to they want to control the whole
Yeah.
pricing and the quantity and they just want to, be ridiculous about it. Um,
Yeah, that's the worst thing. I mean, I'm a supporter of capitalism, but eBay's a little bit of what I would call crony capitalism because
mhm,
the way it's a free market, you can do whatever you want to, but
mhm,
I think eBay, I don't like restrictions necessarily when a company goes in and does restrictions. Not, but eBay, if they wanted to, could probably go in and be like, you know, you can't extort pricing. You know, they could possibly
mhm.
do that. I don't know if that's illegal or not on the secondary market. I don't know how that works,
Yeah,
but
but well,
it
as long as eBay makes a little cut off buddy's
hmm
sell,
they don't
they're
care.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
don't care. It's like
yeah,
whatever. The bigger, the more it costs, probably the bigger cut they get. So they're cool with that.
yeah,
Which that comes down to supply and demand. If you want something bad enough, you'll
yeah,
pay it.
yeah.
So
I've passed on so many things that I've bid on things. Well, I've made offers. You know, they all usually have make an offer on this, and just
hmm
the last thing I did that with, and the guy kind of made me mad a little bit. Um, it was on the Tom Green show. There's like a two
hmm
disc set of the Tom Green show
hmm
that came out, and I was for some reason I'd listened to an interview with Tom Green. I was like, I always liked Tom Green, and you know, I like obviously like Freddie Got Fingered and stuff, but I never did own any show on DVD, and I started looking
hmm
for it, and somebody wanted like $60 for it, and it said or better offer, so I was like, oh, I'll screw around here, and I put like $40. You know, I was thinking like, oh, he'll come back with maybe 50. So if he came back with maybe
hmm
45, 50, 50
yeah,
bucks or something like that, I thought, well, I'll pay it. It's way too much money for it, but I might pay it if he makes a counter offer. But
yeah.
he just came back and said, nope, 60. No counter offer. Nothing.
Yeah, it's like well then why do you got best offer on there? Because
Yeah.
somebody did that before too to me, and really they came down like 50 cents. It's like that's not even worth putting a best offer on there if you're only going to come down 50 cents and no more. It's like that's
Yeah.
kind of dumb in a way, but it's just. But yeah, that's pretty common. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. You I don't know. It's I mean, I remember back in the days where you could go like Bardstown Road and some of the shops,
Yeah,
and you could really find stuff that people have traded in, and you could really
yeah,
find some really cool stuff. But now,
yeah,
since Amazon and eBay has kind of placed that experience, because now if you
yeah,
go there, they don't really have anything, and it's like, and then if you can't find nothing, you can just find it on eBay now. So it kind
yeah,
of takes some of the fun out of searching for stuff, and having a day out and just rummaging basically through stuff.
yeah.
And it I used to have a lot of fun with that. I'd go up there and buy all kinds of different things, and it's
You ever
just
been
not
to
the same now.
Pops? You ever been to Pops in
Uh,
Lexington? Resale, Pops
um,
resale.
I've heard of that actually. I
Yeah,
think my wife got me a like a Frankenstein figure uh,
yeah,
from the '80s in the package still from there.
yeah. They don't have a lot of movies. They're always were a vinyl record
Hmm.
reseller for the most part. They used to have at one time they had a lot of laser discs, but by the time that I started collecting laser discs, only it diminished to basically a box on the floor. So they didn't. They used to have a whole rack dedicated to laser discs, and then they kind of it
Well, I think
slowed
what
off.
I think what happens now is a lot of the people that collect vinyl, they go to stores and see vinyl, and a lot of times laser discs are mixed in with vinyl sometimes or right next to it. And I
Yeah.
think they buy those laser discs because they know they can flip those,
Mm-hmm.
at a market or eBay or something. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of those are disappearing with vinyl, going with those people a
Yeah.
lot. Um,
Yeah. I agree.
But
Well.
yeah,
Well, Mike.
there's a store in on Bardstown Road, The Great Escape, and
Oh yeah.
they have laser disc a lot of the time.
I haven't been in there. It's probably been close to 2 years. I went right at the beginning of the pandemic, right when it was starting, like probably in March
Mhm,
or something, 2020,
mhm.
and I
Yeah,
bought a few. I need to come back down there.
yeah. We should probably get together sometime and
Yeah.
go check out some stores, and because I haven't been either in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you ought to come up. I was going to tell you you should maybe one. I know it's hard for you to get away, but the Kentucky theaters having they have classic movies
Oh, okay.
throughout
Yeah.
their summer movie classics or something like that. I believe they
Mhm,
call it that, and then they run like a classic movie each week. It's every Wednesday, but they play it at like 1:30 in the afternoon, then it plays like at night at sometimes 7 o'clock or something like that. And you
mhm,
thought you might come up one day and catch
mhm.
one. I can't remember what's playing. They just ran Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, I believe, this past week. I didn't get to go see it, and but
Oh wow.
and
I wonder if they're playing actual film prints or if they're just doing digital.
I don't know that. I don't know if they're the 35 millimeters or not. Now they're
Yeah,
set up for that, but I don't know if they're still doing it or not.
yeah. Well, the Palace Theater in Louisville uh, did that every summer, except for the last 3 or 4 years they didn't do it. But they would have like a month of like Universal monster movies, and then they had Alfred Hitchcock month one year.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw a movie up there, I saw the original Thin Man. Um,
Oh
and
wow.
that was pretty. Yeah, that was really cool to see that on the big screen. It gives it a different level of. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's hard to see a basic movie like that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they used to do that, and you could buy your tickets ants and all that. And I don't know. They haven't done it in a while. I need to go online and see if they're still doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool, man. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to do that because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love doing that.
Yeah. I'll have to keep an eye on the schedule. I know it's probably difficult for you to come up during the week, especially you probably have your kids and stuff during the summer, so it's probably
Well,
hard to.
probably be a little more looser in the summer because they'll be out of school and like that. So
Yeah.
plus my wife's from Lexington, so
So.
she's knows people down there, and we go down there every so often. So it
Oh
it,
okay.
it probably wouldn't be a big deal to go down there actually.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep an eye on the schedule and let you know what's coming up. I seen
Okay.
some of it over the day, but sometimes they play some stuff I don't really want to necessarily see. But I would have liked to see
Yeah.
Butch Cassidy, and I had a big doctor's appointment the day before. I was just like, I just didn't feel like dealing with it
Mm,
because it's right downtown now. Downtown's even more hectic now in Lexington since they've built some of those new buildings and things. And
mm, yeah.
you used to just go and park in the police garage there and then
Mm,
just walk down to the Kentucky, and it was easy. So, but I don't know anymore where you have to park at. So
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
fun theater to see movies in.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go there and check out because I like old theaters like that.
Yeah. They have the State Theater as well. It's a more modern theater they put in right next to it. It's a
Mm,
smaller, but it's a little bit more modern. The room is the
mm,
technology and stuff in it, but Kentucky's a big, gigantic auditorium. I've seen
yeah.
shows in there, music, rock shows to
Mm,
plays and all kinds of stuff.
yeah. That's like the Louisville Palace is like that. There's one of those ones built in the 20s where everything's just Art Deco and
Yeah,
it's just beautiful place, you know.
yeah. Well, Mike, I'm getting kind of tired here, and
Yeah, it's
we've
getting
been
about that time. Yeah.
it's been about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40 minutes, I believe. So,
Oh wow.
been
This
the,
might be the longest episode.
yep, so far it is. Yeah, we get going, and until we get past the main subject matter, I think I can bullshit longer than I can talk about the movies sometimes.
Yeah, it all works out, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I kind of enjoyed the other episode we had GCap on. I think that
yeah,
turned out pretty well. I think we got
yeah,
a lot more people in and watched it and stuff. So
yeah,
maybe we can get somebody else during our summer
yeah,
vision series and see if we can get some people on.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Well, Mike, I guess we can head on out of here. You can
All right.
find Mike at Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays. And is it under Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays on? It's Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays on YouTube, or is it Dag Films on YouTube?
I think it's Dag. I got it. I put it as Dag Films, Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays in
Okay,
brackets. So just kind of,
okay.
I might just switch it one day, but
But you can find Mike on YouTube. You can find Low IQ Media, which is my channel on YouTube and Instagram. I think Mike is Mad Dog Mike on
mhm.
Instagram,
And
and
yeah,
so you can find
yeah.
us all there if you have any questions. And I guess
Plus,
that's
Cult
yeah,
of Collectors.
yes, yeah.
Cult of
Cult of
Collectors.
Collectors is my other show that I do with a couple other guys. We pretty much focus. We do a little bit of everything there, just like this one,
Mhm.
but we try to focus on physical media. We have guests, and we did like a big movie review for Doctor Strange last week with a big panel of
Yeah,
people. So
that was really cool, man.
yeah,
I think a lot of people coming in and out. That was awesome.
yeah, yeah, that was real fun. I really enjoyed that.
Mhm.
So until next week, you'll have to wait to the poster next week to find out what we're doing. I don't think we've chosen what we're doing next week. I believe that will be Mike's pick. We're back to Mike now, so
Okay. Yeah,
we'll
we'll
talk
get a
about it throughout the
surprise.
week, and we'll put it up on Instagram at the end of next week. And I guess we'll see you guys later.
Okay. Yep.
If I
Later,
find my
guys.
cursor, see you later.
Yep. See ya.